still leads the event. He's nearly 8 minutes clear of the field. And now it's time to go to Bruce Stadium for a rugby league. But first, just recapping on last night's result, which was Canterbury 26 over Manly 10. Your commentators at Bruce Stadium are Warren Boland, Peter Jackson, John Peard and Debbie Spillane. Hope you enjoy the match.
For Canberra, there's no place like home. The Raiders have won 8 out of 8 this season at Bruce Stadium to be sitting in 4th place. A win today will keep a top 3 finish in sight. A loss will make them nervous. Steve Walters calls himself the tractor with good reason. Quentin Pongia has fought back from injury to regain his place. And Bradley Clyde's return adds genuine class to the pack. Ricky Stewart is the linchpin of the game plan. Leading try scorer Jason Croker now has 15 to his credit, but you wouldn't say Noah Nandruku, who collected 22 last year, couldn't catch his teammate. Cronulla, equal 5th, have teams snapping at their heels. The Sharks, specials at home, must win their share of away games to make the semis. Danny Lee has racked up more tackles than any player in the league, but is just as well known for his attack. Les Davidson is the toughest teak forward everyone likes to play alongside, while Andrew Neve's kicking and running from dummy half is a constant threat. Paul Green can make a break in the twinkling of an eye. Unfortunately, the in-form Andrew Eddinghausen has pulled out with rib damage, but Richard Barnett will be aiming to enhance his growing reputation. Live from Bruce Stadium, the Raiders versus the Sharks. Hello everyone, the foothills around Bruce Stadium, a chilly afternoon in the national capital. I don't know whether we can promise you any political diplomacy in the commentary box today with Jacko alongside me, but this Cronulla side looked a very well-balanced team, particularly in that back line. Suddenly you take Andrew Eddinghausen out, unfortunately, and those multiple options disappear somewhat.
Well, he's been in sparkling form, Andrew Eddinghausen. I remember a couple of weeks ago in a game at the Sydney Football Stadium, came up with some magic tries and some magic passes. So he'll be a big loss to the Cronulla Sharks today, but you can't not tip Canberra today. They've won 18 games down here straight at Bruce Stadium, so very much unbackable favourites today.
Even though Laurie Daly's out, Kenny Nagus is out, Bradley Clyde is back though.
Well, Bradley Clyde, I mean, when you talk about back rows, you talk about Bradley Clyde, then the rest. So he's an outstanding player and he'll have a big contribution today. But in saying that, Laurie Daly's out of the side, but Jason Croker is an outstanding player, top try scorer in the league.
Okay, on the sideline, Debbie Spillane and Johnny Peard.
Thanks, Warren. And no, it's not blue lipstick. It really is that cold down here. We've got the breeze blowing across field from the far side of the field towards us. And although it seems to be gusting a little bit occasionally from right to left, and that's probably why Cronulla have won the toss and elected to run right to left in the first half. Wherever that breeze is coming from, it's coming off ice, I can tell you that. Johnny Peard, I guess there's no doubt Canberra have got the goods outside in the outside backs, but Cronulla, I guess, would have to fancy themselves as their best chance up the middle with some good forwards like Danny Lee and Dan Staines.
Yeah, certainly. I think that's Cronulla's best advantage, just for their halfbacks like Healy and Green to feed off guys like Hick, Lee and Davidson, who can pop back passes. That second phase play could be very important to the Cronulla side.
Well, you mentioned the halfback there, and I was thinking about it earlier. Paul Green, he'd have to be close to the fastest halfback off the mark in the game these days, I think.
That's very good summing up, Debbie. He's as fast as a hiccup, this little fella, but what I like about him, he's got a lot more to his game. He's got an all-round game. He kicks well, takes it to the line, good passing game, excellent player.
OK, back to you, Warren. And by the way, Warren, I flew down next to Jacko on the plane. Can I sit next to Bronwyn Bishop next time, please?
Yeah. Well, I could hear the both of you. I was only a couple of seats behind. Sounded like there was a bit of fun up the front of the plane.
As always, Warren.
Not that you weren't well behaved, Jacko.
Absolutely. I told him to land the plane because I needed to make an appointment at Canberra.
Now, just one thing John was talking about, the ability of Paul Green. They've got kickers in the Cronulla side in Green, Mitch Healy and Andrew Neve. Now, I mean, that's got to be one area that they're very strong in, even though Canberra have Ricky Stewart, he's only one man.
Well, that's right. I mean, Steve Walters can kick from dummy half, but because they've got such a great kick in Ricky Stewart, a lot of the responsibility obviously goes with him. But it's a great advantage to have a hooker that can kick, because the great thing about having a hooker that can kick from dummy half is that all your chasers are onside. That's the big advantage there.
Sure. Ultimately, though, it's very hard not to tip Canberra. So strong right across the paddock. Still trying to settle on a forward lineup, though. Here come the Raiders. There's Johnny Lomax in the middle of your screen. Quentin Ponga back in the side. Brett Mullins is the fullback. Albert Fulabai on the wing with Ken Nagus injured. Mal Meninga and Ruben Wiki the setters. Noah Nandruku back from winning for Fiji against France last week. Jason Croker is 5'8" in the place of Laurie Daly. Ricky Stewart halfback. Brad Clyde lock forward. David Furner and Brett Hetherington second rowers. John Lomax, Steve Walters, Quentin Ponga in the front row. Jason Croker on your screen. What a try-scoring phenomenon he is in whatever position you put him in. He just keeps coming down the centre of the field scoring tries.
A fantastic player, played in every position you can imagine. I think he's played in every position for the Raiders apart from hooker. So he's an absolutely outstanding utility player, and a player like that must be a chance for the Kangaroo Tour.
Cronulla on the field, Dave Watson fullback, Ian Crossan on the wing. Darren Higgins comes into the place of Andrew Eddinghausen. Jeff Bell the other centre, Richard Barnett on the wing. Mitch Healy 5'8", Paul Green half. The forwards, Dave Borton lock, Andrew Hick and Dan Staines second rowers. Les Davidson up front alongside Andrew Neve and Danny Lee. There's Andrew Neve. He's had a very successful first season in Sydney football. Graham Annesley is our referee today. Both teams intent on shoring up their position in the top 5. Very important game for both because there's plenty of teams clawing to get into 5th position. Here's Danny Lee now as he ran off the pass of Les Davidson. On the Cronulla 20. Now Staines, who missed quite a few games mid-season. So he's stringing them together now, Dan Staines.
And hasn't been signed up by the Cronulla club as well for next season, Dan Staines. Believe they're waiting for Paul Soonen to give him an answer.
Good football by the Sharks. It was started by Andrew Hick, who spun and unloaded, and suddenly it's shot across the back line to Bell. Now here's Lee over the halfway line. That's a confident start from Cronulla. Green with the boot in behind Fulavai, and it trickles into touch 15 metres out, and I think Cronulla would be very satisfied with that start to the game.
Yeah, that was a good set of 6 for Cronulla. There's Paul Green just stabbing that one into the sideline. Nice little kick. He's got all the skills, as you said, Warren, or as Debbie Spillane said, he's got all the skills, can kick as well. Interesting to see Cronulla got a deep back line. Canberra play a very compressed defensive line, and obviously Cronulla believe they can get around that by the looks of that first set of 6.
Stewart gives it to Fulavai, and he's just outside his own 20. Stewart goes into dummy half. There's Clyde back into the action, having recovered from a head knock suffered against Norths. We can check the record for and against for the season. You'll see the Canberra, the best attacking side in the competition. 405 points they've scored. Cronulla 280. Doesn't really compare to the overwhelming superiority in attack of Canberra, but in defence, both teams very even, both up among the best defenders in the competition. Stewart chased down by Green, had to change direction, got his kick away, and Watson eventually came forward, looked a little tentative at first. Just wondering how the wind was going to affect it.
Have to be watched today, Dave Watson. Outstanding player, Kiwi international, played 18 tests for New Zealand, and a real headache for opposing teams because he's got that ability to unload the ball as well.
And Peter, a real New Zealand flavour today. We've got Watson, Crossan and Barnett. Of course, and we've got the front row from Canberra, Kiwi internationals, Lomax and Ponga.
Certainly is. We could get a few shepherds today, you think.
Healy goes deep too. Watson, the man we're talking about, he slips away, pops it back inside to Healy.
Well, pretty reckless pass by Dave Watson. If I've got one criticism of him, he probably tends to push that pass. I suppose that's the English influence. He's played a lot of football in England, played for Halifax, played for Bradford Northern. And, of course, in England, I suppose mistakes aren't punished as much as they are here in the Winfield Cup.
We saw the Canberra intention to unload a moment ago. Brett Hetherington slipping on away. It didn't provide much of an advantage to his side. Now they go wide. Lomax to Meninga to Clyde, standing out among the centres. Pushes off a couple, back to Meninga. Now Nandruku up to halfway. Prepared to push it wide and found a bit of space out there with Clyde and Meninga working together. Now Furner powers up. Good work by Furner. Back go Cronulla. Last tackle coming up for Canberra. It's Stewart. Deft kick ahead, just placing it into the corner. Watson racing. Here comes Nandruku. And it beats them all into touch. neatly placed kick by Ricky Stewart. He knew exactly where he was aiming with that one.
Well, a fantastic kick by Ricky. Just pops it over the top there. Obviously kicking for Noah Nandruka. Here he comes, the big Fijian, but ball running into touch. Good kick by Canberra. Good start for them as well.
So it's Cronulla inside their own 20. I really felt that the inclusion of Dave Watson completed the look of this Canberra backline. We know that Green can attack from halfback, but really outside of that before, you really just looked at Eddinghausen. Suddenly there's two men there, Watson and Eddinghausen, who you'd have to watch. Unfortunately, Eddinghausen not there today.
Yeah, it's a shame today because Eddinghausen running off Dave Watson's short balls will be a fantastic treat for rugby league players, as we've seen the last couple of weeks as Cronulla beat Penrith last week, 36 points to nil, and Dave Watson and E.T. were both instrumental in that victory.
Andrew Neve kicks down to Mullins and he slips it away to Bullabine. Up to the halfway, here comes the cover. And a good tackle from behind there by Barnett. Two other players, including Danny Lee, were across in cover. Now the Canberra Raiders go wide. Stewart accelerates. On it goes to Clyde. Meninga. Nandruku still going. He's knocked over the sideline by Crossan and Watson.
Play on. Nandruku got the ball back on the inside.
I thought he was out. Stewart. Lomax twists and he's away. Lomax to the line. Can't quite get there. Tackled low by Watson. Fell just short. Stewart. Dummies inside. Out now to Croker. Croker pops it on to Mullins. Mullins dangerous. Slips it somehow back inside to Fullerby. Great attacking football. Mullins keeping it alive when he looked like he would die with it. Hetherington. A little flat-footed. Indecisive. Last tackle coming up now. Cronulla short on the far side. Stewart. Clyde. Meninga. Nandruku leaves it behind. Meninga's got it back. There's the knock-on call now. That may have come from the touch judge, I'd say.
Well, he was pretty slow to pick that up. The referee, knock-on by Noah Nandruku, as he made a run for the line. Cronulla come up with it. But great defence by Cronulla on that situation. On that occasion, they were stretched, certainly to the left-hand side. They scrambled well. And they're a surprising team, Cronulla. I think there's a lot of people in the rugby league world have been waiting for Cronulla for the bubble to burst, so to speak, but they've really hung in there this season, and it's a testament to Johnny Lang as the coach. He's kept their minds focused, and they've really come up with some good performances.
They move it across the paddock again to Barnett, but he's hit hard by Croker. Driving tackle.
Hey, Warren, I think that's part of their plan, Cronulla. Here's a turnover here. It's unfortunate for Cronulla, but Cronulla have done well. They've taken the ball up, and Hicks got two tremendous offloads, and they've hit them with that second phase play to try and get away from this defensive Canberra. But here's Clyde. He's playing very wide today, Warren.
He is indeed, and he ran off Furness. Good pass there to go further upfield. Now it's Lomax cutting back into the forwards. They almost found a bit of space for himself too. Both teams very sharp early on, but Canberra getting on top. It's Hetherington. The pass comes back inside. They're just shorter. Has he gone over? He has gone over for the try. It's Steve Walters. Steve Walters backing up on the inside. Skidded across the ground. Referee said there was no double movement. His momentum carried him in for the first try of the match. Canberra lead 4 points to nil. Some tremendous attacking play in this set of 6 from them to move to this position. Look at the evasion here by big Brett Hetherington. Gets out of a couple of tackles and finds the support of Walters inside. Now he slides towards the line. That ball down on the line and a fair try.
Yeah, fantastic try to Canberra. Brett Hetherington, one of the unsung heroes of this Canberra Raider outfit, comes up with a good fend on Danny Lee. Another good fend here on Neve. Stevie Walters, like all good hookers do, backing up down the centre of the field, and his momentum takes him over the line.
Well, Hetherington has beaten 3 men here. He steps away from Staines, then he gets away from Lee and from Neve. I mean, 3 missed tackles by the Cronulla forwards.
Yeah, fine young player, and watch Stevie Walters hunting out this try. He's getting a bit bald, old Stevie Walters, isn't he? I've just had a look there. He's got a fair bit of skin on top, old box head.
You won't get your Christmas card from him this year. David Furner, 60% success this year, 44 from 73. I'd like him to knock a few more over. This is close to the posts. He adds the extras. Canberra turning it on early, leads 6 points to nil.
Yeah, Cronulla wouldn't be too happy with this effort. The fact that a forward can receive the ball first off the ruck and step inside. This is the ruck preceding it.
And John, that came from a poor play the ball by Cronulla after the big tackle by Croker.
They made the mistake. But here they are working the ball wide. They're only about 25 metres out. Quick play the ball. Knock it up to the 20-metre line. And there's Hetherington just coming into the picture now. There he is there. Just a marker defence, didn't move forward. Danny Lee didn't come up with it. And I know how Steve Walter's got that ball patch. He keeps scoring tries and they slap him on the top of the head. Good on you, son. Good effort.
And here goes Nandruku. Lomax fed it to him. Cross and bamboozled. Nandruku away from two more. Down to Watson he comes. Watson makes the tackle.
And Stevie Walter's looming up on the inside there. Noah Nandruku didn't have a look at all. Took on Watson and came up empty. Raiders on fire.
It's Croker wide. Meninga keeps it going to Mullins. They've got 2 against 3. And Wiki nearly makes it to the line. Again, Cronulla just managed to hold on. Now, touch judge quickly gives some information. Oh, it's a try. Oh, I thought he was short. Wasn't he short?
Good call, Warren.
I was sure he was short. Well, how in the hell has Ruben Wiki slid through here? Canberra 10, Cronulla 0. Cronulla devastated by the tremendous attack, first down the left wing, then down the right. And here it is from after the great break. Lomax put Nandruku away. And here it is, wide ball from Stewart. Croker, they had plenty of men here, but Cronulla also had the defence. Wiki inside. Now does he get it down here? He's reaching. Well, he must have got it down on the line.
He definitely got it down.
Watson disputes it. And referee Annesley on the touch judge report. Annesley also looked towards his in-goal judge. I don't know what he had to say.
Here's a big break by Noah Nandruku. Great ball by Johnny Lomax. Here he is, big Noah Nandruku. Top try scorer last season. Beats Ian Crossan easy. Now watch Stevie Walters. Big Stevie Walters backing up there. Didn't position himself too well, Steve. A little bit behind Noah Nandruku, but Nandruku did well. Held on to the football. Came up with a quick play the ball. And Canberra scored on the other side of the field. Tremendous backline, Canberra. Very dangerous, as Cronulla are finding out today.
David Furner. Difficult shot, this one. Couple of inches in from touch. Maybe a foot. Concentrating hard. And he's given it every chance. Coming around and just swings away a little too much. A fine start for Canberra. They are on fire. It's Canberra 10, Cronulla 0.
Yeah, promising play from the Canberra side, right from the kick-off, but there's the ball that probably did it, and this guy has got so much speed, Mullins. He can just come from behind and come around. That's his value, but there's the final pass. And Annesley probably just relied on the touch judge. That's giving him no responsibility whatsoever. Good effort by the referee.
It's just the reaction from the Cronulla defenders there. Barnett and Watson both appeared to think that there was going to be play on. 2 tries in 3 minutes.
Well, you thought it was going to be play on too.
Well, they're a lot closer than we are. Cronulla missing too many tackles early on here. And Canberra moving the ball around, unloading the passes, making this defence work overtime.
You were on that run from Nandruku. That happened out of nothing. Crossan was too far behind the line when they were going down from the kick-off. I mean, that's elementary stuff, and unfortunately they've paid the price very dearly as Ricky Stewart gets a left-footed kick away.
They put some pressure on Stewart, forced him onto his left boot. Now Crossan. He's run into trouble though. Gets a good pass away though. Well, they're just short of halfway. The Sharks really must be stunned by those 2 Canberra tries. Now it's Staines. In the under-21s, Cronulla scored a late try to win, 22 points to 18. Cronulla on top of the President's Cup ladder. In reserve grade, Canberra winning 17 points to 10. So still on the halfway with the Sharks. Lee goes into them, looked to turn and get it out the back, but there were plenty of Canberra men around him, cutting off all the avenues. Paul Green goes himself, slips away from 2 or 3 of them, and unfortunately for him, Hongia was blocking the pass. Healy puts it up high. Crossan, I thought, was just offside, but he's still in for the tackle. It must have been okay. Puts him into touch. No, the ball stays in the field of play, and they all went to sleep, and Mullins has taken off. Now here's trouble for Watson this time. Mullins can't get away. That's 2 try savers from Watson.
Oh, fantastic tackle by Dave Watson. Brett Mullins, one of the hardest men to contain in the game. One-on-one, great effort.
Cronulla have got to play the whistle, though. They're standing and waiting for things to go their way. Pongia now, better known as a back rower, playing in the front row today. Fulavai to Hetherington. Pops it back. Steve Walters waiting. Hick drags him to ground. But every time Canberra have a ball, they keep moving it, and there's more and more Cronulla players being worked out of position. Croker puts the kick down to Watson. He beats one tackle. He'll pick up another 20 metres at least here. Stewart can't get to him. He's run away from quite a few of those defenders. Pad pass in the end undid some of the good work. Crossan finally picks it up.
Well, I don't know about that kick from Jason Croker. I'm not sure it was the 5th tackle. He put through sort of really a nothing kick. Wasn't a long kick, wasn't a high kick. It was just sort of a kick, really, and didn't come up with any goods. Dave Watson, a good run out.
Lee charges upfield, picks up 10 metres. On the previous tackle, Darren Higgins showed some determination. Now it's Davidson, and he gets 6 or 7 metres. Lomax combining with Croker. Now Borton. Oh, bad pass, Dave Borton. On the ground. Cronulla player diving in for it. He was lucky that he wasn't offside. That was Bell, but it's a knock-on both ways.
Yeah, I think Canberra came up with a knock-on. Here's Borton taking the ball up now. There was nothing happening. Got hit in a good tackle by Ruben Wiki. And Wiki just has a little knock-on there. Just before that ball went backwards, he actually just a little touch forward. But Canberra get the feed, a double knock-on.
Certainly was no problem. Bell was onside, had been touched by Canberra. But it was a very ordinary pass, wasn't it, from Borton?
Well, I think he got hit late, Warren. He was always prepared to make the pass, but just as he was about to execute it, he got hit in a good tackle by Wiki, which jarred the ball loose.
I just had the feeling he looked a little desperate to unload. Cronulla had gone into their shell more. They were just knocking it up one out. Now Walters. And Furner was trying to position himself to take that pass. Only 15 out. Clyde goes himself.
Well, Canberra look like they basically can score at will here. Cronulla a bit short on the left-hand side. They go right.
Stewart cuts out one. Meninga, Croker, Mullins, and he's got his winger, and this time Barnett has managed to stop them. Well, just managed. In fact, that's Nandruka, who's come from the far wing.
That was obviously a planned move there by Canberra, but they just crowded themselves a little bit. They needed someone to straighten up. Noah Nandruka probably needed to come inside there. Brett Mullins gets rid of a pass. It's a pretty ordinary pass, Petey.
I agree, Peter, but Mullins has got tremendous pace. He comes from inside out so quickly that you've got to get the angle runner coming back on the inside. It would have worked well then.
I don't know whether Nandruka's in a bit of trouble. He's talking to the trainer. He's certainly come to this side of the field, and now Fulavai's on the left wing. Watson goes to dummy half, takes off, pops the pass to Borton. Borton, a successful pass this time to Watson. Staines. Moving the ball around now, the Sharks, not with the same impact as Canberra, but here goes a good run from Borton. Slips a lovely ball to Barnett. Ankle tap, it's still going. Down to Mullins, and Mullins makes a try saver. Quality defence from both fullbacks so far in this game. Watson saved 2 tries, now Mullins saves one himself.
Well, Brett Mullins, he was criticised last year in the semi-final series for his defence, especially Mark Coyne, but what about that for a tackle? He just monstered Barnett over the sideline. Here's a better look at it. Big Mal comes up with an ankle tap that went a little bit wrong. Barnett tries to go on his outside, but Brett Mullins says, a bit like World Championship Wrestling, get over that sideline, straight into the turnbuckle.
A lovely pass from Borton to put the winger Barnett away, so Dave Borton suddenly hits back with a couple of great passes after one that gave away possession.
He's a fantastic player, Dave Borton. There's not much of him, as you can see. Here's Stewart with a good break.
Now Stewart's up to halfway. Watson comes to him. Back inside to Wiki. Crossan giving chase. Hauling him in. Can he get there? No! Great try by Canberra. Crossan couldn't catch him. And Ruben Wiki scores after the Ricky Stewart burst. 14 points to 0. Well, this is real trouble for Cronulla. They seem to be competitive in attack, but their defence is opening up to the delight of the Raiders, who are such a sharp attacking side. Here it is, Stewart holding up the pass, and he's away from Andrew Hicks, grabbing tackle. Downfield Stewart, who's done more running already in this 20 minutes than in the last month. Wiki, chased by Crossan. Crossan left it as late as he could. He couldn't have gone any further. He had to dive.
Well, there he is, Ricky Stewart. Perfect half-back play. Catch and pass, catch and pass, catch and pass. Then have a go yourself, and that's what he did, Ricky. Good ball inside to Ruben Wiki. He's a real quickie, this Ruben Wiki. He's signed for the Warriors next year, but I'll tell you what, the Raiders won't mind if he keeps scoring tries like that for the rest of the season. There we see Laurie Daly up. Look a bit cold there, Loz. Recovering from that knee injury. Had an arthroscope. I think he had a little bit of cartilage cleaned out of his knee, and he'll be back in a couple of weeks for the Raiders, but at the moment they're going pretty well without him.
Without him and Ken Nagus. It doesn't seem to be hurting this back line of the Green Machine at all. Now Furner, right in front, where all kickers love to collect their points. Last kick from out wide went very close. And straight between the posts. It's Canberra, 16. Cronulla facing a debacle, 0.
This was just a simple miss by Andrew Hick, but I think this we see it here. You see Mitch Healy gets up a little bit before Hick. Hick presumes the ball's going across field. Hick was slow out of the blocks in the defensive line. That just gave Ricky Stewart the opportunity to have a shot at the line. Hick wasn't prepared to tackle him because he wasn't moving forward, and then Ruben Wiki finished it right off.
Gee, they make you pay, don't they? A moment ago, Barnett was heading for a try, stopped by the fullback, and moments later, Canberra go 60 or 70 metres.
Yeah, but Warren, Andrew Hick then, he's a good player, but on that occasion he pointed wide. He thought Ricky Stewart was going to throw a long ball, I think, and all he did was invite Ricky to have a shot at the line.
Well, that's good half-back play, Peardy. I mean, catch and pass, as Ricky does, and what they do, they expect him to catch and pass, and then he has a go himself and bamboozles them. Great play by Ricky Stewart. That's a pretty good kick too.
Watson only a few metres out from his own posts. He runs into Stewart, who gives good chase after that kick. And for a moment there, you could see Canberra had lifted him and just let him down gently. Barnett. Part of that Kiwi connection John was talking about. Plays it back somewhat clumsily. Now it's Staines. Well, what would Dan Staines have said behind the line to his troops?
Don't miss tackles, I suppose. Don't hang off Ricky Stewart, I'd imagine, would be one saying.
Yep.
It's a period where you really got to unite. I think it's far easier to drop the ball, so to speak, and I think that 16-0 you haven't got too much of a chance. But I just wonder how many of those Cronulla players really believe, or acting positively, that they can get back in this game.
Well, it's a big game for Cronulla today. It must be disappointing to come out with... Here we go, Brett Mullins again.
And he's beaten Higgins. He's beaten Davidson. Mullins down to the 30 now. He comes to Watson. And Nandruku charges for the corner. Crossan can't get him.
Another try.
Well, this is really turning into a debacle, isn't it? Crossan couldn't hang on as they charged for the wing, for the corner there. And it was Fulavai heading for the corner and made it, but only after Brett Mullins had beaten 2 tackles way back upfield. Look at this, Mullins on his own 20. First of all, he gets in between a couple of them, then he got away from Davidson. Downfield he comes, Watson thinking this is a nightmare, and then Crossan trying desperately to pull him back. He knew he had to somehow get him towards that touchline, but over in the corner.
Well, this is why this guy is the Australian fullback. Look at that for a beautiful run. He's a real athlete, Brett Mullins. In fact, it reminds me of you, Warren, when you were playing.
Oh, yeah, if only.
A great ball out to Fulavai, and Ian Crossan just couldn't get to him. And a great try to the Raiders. Their backline really on fire this afternoon. Well fed by Ricky Stewart. Mal Meninga's been involved, but Brett Mullins from the back is outstanding. Here we see what a great step off his left foot. He's got tremendous speed, Brett Mullins. One of the fastest blokes at the Raiders. In fact, Tim Sheen says he is probably the fastest player at the Raiders, which is a pretty good rap, considering you got guys like Nandruku and Ken Nagus in your side. Great try to the Raiders.
And Albert Fulavai, the 26-year-old from Tonga, scores the try, nicknamed Prince. Looks a little like him too.
I bet you wish he had as much money as him. He's not called Prince anymore, he's called the Symbol.
Now here's Furner. He's getting plenty of goal-kicking practice, but it's not close enough. Doesn't really matter at the moment. Canberra lead 20 points to 0. Didn't they let Brett Mullins escape?
And Warren, the chase is left early here on this kick. There they are, downfield, well positioned. It's just simple play by, well, not simple. You've got to have speed. Look at that.
Darren Higgins couldn't get to him
just
there.
got around Darren Higgins beautifully. Look at McCross and interfering with Fulavai, but Fulavai obviously listened to plenty of Vince Lombardi tapes and thought about the second effort, kept going and scored a try.
So it's Canberra unstoppable at the moment. And if Cronulla don't do something about it very, very soon, well, there's going to be absolutely no hope, if there is any hope left at the moment. Only 23 minutes of play gone. Canberra lead 20 points to 0. I mean, they're averaging 1 try every 5 minutes.
Well, when you think about it, Warren, if you look back and get a cross-section of those tries, I mean, it's only been, what, 3 or 4 missed tackles by Cronulla, and Canberra have come up with the goods every time. I mean, that's the sign of a good side, taking your opportunities. Here goes Stevie Walters.
Last year, in the match between these two sides at Bruce Stadium, Canberra caned them 46-6, on target for a similar result, if not bigger. Stewart's kick finds touch.
Well, Canberra is sort of side that if you're off your game a little bit against Canberra, they can really whack you. If they play well, Canberra, I mean, they can put, as we've seen today, they can put 20 points on. There's Ricky Stewart, a little stab kick to the sideline, slowing things down, settling down things for the Raiders. But if they can get a roll on the Canberra Raiders, they're almost unstoppable. It's a nightmare when you play against them. When they've got that roll on, all the passes seem to stick, and the players like Mullins, Meninga, Stewart just seem to come up with magic all the time.
The amazing thing is that for the first 5 minutes, Cronulla looked to be in this game. They were playing out their sets of 6. They were making good ground. They were doing everything right. But as soon as they made a couple of mistakes, they've let Canberra get their tail up and paid the penalty. Now penalty goes against Canberra, holding on to Borton as he was trying to play it. That's the first penalty of the match. Been too busy scoring tries.
There you see the Canberra Raider players all over Dave Borton. Is that Dave Borton? Yeah, he's trying to get up, struggling to get up. Probably milked that penalty a little bit. But he got the penalty, he got the desired result. But when you think about it, Warren, Cronulla have really been in this game until that kick, the kickoff.
Well, I reckon they were in it for 5 minutes. Not after that, though.
They need to come up with a try before half-time, Cronulla. They need to come up with a couple of tries. Here goes Bell!
And Bell turns something into nothing, or other way round, I should say. Nothing into something. Very close. He's only a metre out. And they're trying to rake the ball back. They're all over him. It's a penalty to Cronulla. They go for the tap. Annesley knocked over. They're still short, though, the Sharks. Watson plays it. Green. Healy. Davidson. Staines. Cronulla desperately need a try here. Healy. That break by Bell came after a bad pass. Had really gone back behind Healy. And Cronulla were going nowhere. Green pops a kick through, knocked over just after he kicked it. Play on, and Mullins has got it. Didn't really look confident. Wasn't the last tackle.
No, well, another. Paul Green clutching at straws a little bit there, I think. Third tackle, 5 metres from the opposition line. You try and at least play out your set of 6. Paul Green coming out with the grubber kick. Really ineffective at that stage, but Cronulla really desperation time now as the Raiders ping the ball left.
To Wiki. Healy's got hold of him with Higgins. Now this is where the Sharks have got to keep them. Last tackle coming up. Stewart under a bit of pressure from Danny Lee. Finds touch, but we didn't make a whole lot of ground. Only picked up about 20 metres.
Well, put that down to Danny Lee's pressure from marker, or raced out from, I think he was actually in the defensive line. Puts great press. There he is, Danny Lee, putting pressure on Ricky Stewart, but Ricky Stewart, such a master of the kicking game. Not one of his greatest kicks, but at least he found touch. So the Cronulla...
Standing by to make replacements for Cronulla. Andrew Hick and Dan Staines are going to be the 2 forwards to come off, and that's Nathan Long and Robbie Kern standing by.
That's Cronulla in possession, but they're being wrestled back by Meninga. Meninga prominent in those raids from Canberra downfield in the lead up to tries. Now that's a good run from Davidson, but equally good defence. Hammered by Lomax and Hetherington.
John Lomax, so important to the Raiders' chances this year, I believe. He's a real hard nut, the big Kiwi. They really need that, Canberra.
Jeff Bell tackled 22 metres out. It's Green now. Lee. And he's lost it as he spun around trying to get it away. Stewart comes up with it. And Druku juggles. You know, that burst by Les Davidson, he was trying to turn the game around for Cronulla, but when you're met by that sort of defence, that must be demoralising. You see one of your best charges of the game just totally nullified.
Well, it's demoralising for Cronulla, but it's very much inspirational for Canberra. As I said, Johnny Lomax, I believe, is probably as important a player for the Raiders in their semi-final charge this year as anybody. He's got to be there, and he's got to be a tough man. He's got to be a hard man up the front. He's got to take the ball up and whack some guys. And that's what he's done this afternoon. It's no surprise that the Raiders are so far in front. He's playing a good game, Johnny Lomax.
That was David Wesley coming on for Canberra.
And Lomax having a rest as we speak. And Watson gets it out to Crossan. Prepared to take a little bit of a risk there, though there wasn't much to be gained inside their own 20. Crossan slipping. Bell. Just talking about that front row of Canberra's. Lomax obviously has one spot, but I still reckon there's a battle on for the other one with Hetherington. Pongia up there today. Pongia usually a second rower. Wesley has been there. Paul Osborne scored a try in reserve grade, but seems to be out of favour.
Well, he had a fine game in reserve grade, Paul Osborne. I think he is a key to the Canberra Raiders. I think Lomax, Walters and Osborne are probably the Raiders' best front row combination. There's a kick that went way out on the full.
Andrew Neve
landed in the grandstand.
Andrew Neve under a bit of pressure, miscuing badly.
It's one of those days for the Sharkies. Things aren't going right at all.
Look at the missed tackles by Cronulla. They're really being run off their feet. 14 missed tackles, Canberra only 3.
They'll just kill you, Canberra, if you miss that many tackles. I mean,
they make it happen, don't they?
They make you miss, but I mean, you just can't afford it. One-on-one misses against Canberra Raiders. It's try time. They got guys backing up. They got Walters coming up the middle. They got Clyde. He's everywhere. And they got Nandruku, Mullins, Meninga. You just can't afford to miss those one-on-one tackles.
Look at the metres gained. Canberra 950 to Cronulla's 592, despite the fact possession's been reasonably evenly shared. Canberra doing a lot more with it and going a lot further. Leading 20 points to 0 after 30 minutes. And they're only 20 metres out yet again. Stewart passed 2 runners. Croker couldn't handle. Meninga throws it forward. Now that's a little bit frivolous. And I don't think Tim Sheens would be too impressed with that attack.
I don't think Big Mal will be too impressed with his pass here. Absolute speculator. He'll be dirty on himself for this, Mal. There'll be no doubting that. Great pick up by Croker. That was a good decision. Did go backwards. Watch this one for Big Mal. Oh, there you go. See how you go with that one, Croaks.
That's offering an intercept.
Oh, well, they can afford to give away a couple of tries. Make it interesting.
The pass from Stewart, the 2 decoys, very nearly took the ball in, just let it float straight past their faces, out to Croker, who couldn't quite hang on to it. Of course, you're talking about the structure of the lineup for Canberra, 20-0 in favour of the Raiders. Once Daly comes back, all of a sudden you've got Croker loose, and where do you put him? Probably back in the second row.
Oh, for sure. I think Clyde, Ferner, Croker, Lomax, Osborne and Walters is probably, in my opinion, the Raiders' best pack. I mean, Tim Sheens might think differently. Well, he's the coach, he picks the team, but in my opinion, I think that's the best pack the Raiders can put on the field.
Now Bell's broken through here, running off Green, but there's plenty of defence still there. Now the pass goes to Crossan. He's got to get his support on side. They're not far out at all. Last pass goes on the ground from Robbie Kearns, and away goes Croker back upfield, so it all comes to nothing.
Well, desperation time from Cronulla, but Jason Croker, the man on the spot. He's everywhere today, Jason Croker.
Nice break by Jeff Bell. He has looked fairly dangerous. It was a good pass from Green, got him outside his man.
He's been impressive, Jeff Bell. He's made a couple of breaks today. Here we see him shifting the ball to the left, the Raiders. Bradley Clyde breaks another tackle. Oh, what a pass!
And away goes Fullerby. Fullerby streaking for the corner. Watson across, and he stopped another one. Third try saved by the fullback for Cronulla. But they're only a few metres out, and there it is now. In fact, every time Watson has saved a try, within a tackle or two, Canberra have gone on to score. So it's only been a temporary reprieve. Now it's Canberra 24-0 as Clyde shoves his way over the line, almost unopposed, really. Here it is, Clyde stepping in between them and over. No defence at home at all after the big break.
Here we see that. What a great ball from Bradley Clyde. He's got all the skills, Clyde. Great ball to Fullerby. He did well, Fullerby. He didn't try and throw a silly pass, didn't try and throw a spectacular. There's Dave Watson. He deserves double pay today. A couple of the Cronulla forwards should hand their paycheck over to him. They probably won't get a paycheck today. There's Bradley Clyde on the ball, on the advantage line. Good try to the Raiders. Bradley Clyde set it up with that beautiful pass. He deserved that try. There's Philibay, shows a good clean pair of heels to Green. Dave Watson, a tremendous tackle. As I said, he's really been a guts effort today for the Cronulla Sharks. And you watch Bradley Clyde, he knew there was a try on. Hits it at pace. A big man like Bradley Clyde, 105 kilograms with a good sidestep. He's got good feet, Peardy, and he goes over for a great try.
Well, what do you think Dave Watson's going to be dreaming about tonight? There's going to be green jerseys coming his way all night long. Dave Ferner, 2 from 4 so far. Noah Andruku must feel cheated. He's been moved to the right wing and all of a sudden they've started flying down the left wing. Fulavai scored 2 tries.
He's
been on the way to 2. Got one of them. Here's Ferner. Deep breath, concentration. Oh, it's a shocker. That is a wobbly kick by Ferner. That won't inspire confidence. 24 points to 0.
Well, fairly ordinary defence has been Cronulla's story today. Just have a look at this. Watch Crossan come in a minute. This Crossan, he came in then and was ineffective in trying to lock Bradley Clyde up. Look at the pass there. Beautiful to put Fulavai away. Watson stops it, but then Crossan gets a dummy half. Now, his initial movement should be forward from here. He's got to go forward. See, he hangs. Too late. He could have knocked Clyde off. He'd have gone forward from the marker area then.
Play underway, and once again Canberra in possession. And Cronulla know that just because Canberra inside their own 20 doesn't mean that you can keep them there.
It's got to be a problem, Johnny Pearce, coming from a coach's point of view. At Cronulla, I've seen them play down at Caltex Field a few times. They've been absolutely outstanding. They've beaten some great teams down there. And last week they beat Penrith by 36 points to block. I mean, and then they come away on a road trip to Canberra today, and really, their defence has been pretty ordinary.
Yeah, semi-final aspirants, I guess you call them, as Meninga goes clear.
Oh, lovely ball from Andruku. It's Watson again. And he stopped in, but there's Ricky Stewart. Oh, what a try. What? Oh, forward pass. Call back. Call back the last pass. Signalled forward by Graham Annesley. Well, what a genius piece of football. Started by Croker and Meninga.
No try, forward pass. Let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at this forward pass here. Let's see how we go. A flick pass. What about this for a pass from Big Mal? Oh, David Campese, eat your heart out. Noah Andruki, you'd back him in here to score a try, but Dave Watson, once again, his defence is outstanding. He flicks one out to Ricky Stewart. I don't think that was forward. Try time. It was that good of football. You should have let it go, Graham Annesley. The game's over anyway. Let him go. Score a try.
Sensational piece of football by Canberra. And that last pass, well, maybe it was forward, maybe it wasn't. There wasn't much in it as it was flicked out. 24 points to 0 in favour of the Raiders, and, well, it could have easily been 30.
Well, and this has been a tremendous rebuilding program on behalf of the Raiders, because in 1992, with money problems and salary cap problems, Tim Sheens told me before the game they've only got 4 or 5 players from 1992 within the whole club. So it's been a tremendous recruitment drive by Canberra and Tim Sheens. And look at the skill that's coming out. They obviously do a lot of work at training on skills. Beautiful passing there as Mullins takes this one back.
And Mullins has Fulavai on his right. He dummies to him. And he's away, Brett Mullins again. Fantastic football by the fullback. And Robbie Kearns climbs back up off the dirt, wondering how he got away, but he wasn't the only one who missed him. Hetherington pops it back. Pongia.
Isn't Brett Mullins developing into a fantastic fullback? They pulled the right rein, the Australian selectors, I believe, by picking Brett Mullins at fullback. His combination with Mal Meninga is sensational. And the Pommies, watch out for Mullins and Meninga on the Kangaroo Tour this year. He'll be in all sorts of trouble.
It's hard to believe a lot of people criticise that selection of Mullins, isn't it, Jacko?
Well, it is, and I think...
Are you having a go at me?
Well, you're one of them, Warren, sorry.
I'm certainly one of them. I think Tim Brash has been in good form too. If he was on the end of a Canberra backline, maybe he'd be playing just as well. But I'm not taking anything away from either player. They're both great players. Line ball selection, they've gone for Mullins.
But he's not on the end of a backline when he returns the kick, which is what he does so well.
Oh, sure. But, I mean, Tim Brash is a good player and played very well in the toughest series of rugby league in the world, State of Origin.
Oh, no doubting Tim Brash is a fantastic player, but I think Mullins has got that little bit of extra spark that Timmy Brasher... In fact, I think Timmy Brash is a better centre than he is a fullback.
Look, I picked Mullins as my New South Wales fullback at the beginning of the series, but from that point on, Brasher proved that he could do the job. Here's Watson with men outside. It's Bell, and he keeps it going. It might have gone forward. Referee says OK. Higgins to play it. Bell down injured. Green. And a high tackle from Wiki. Again, it's allowed. Okay. 30 metres out. Danny Lee. Danny Lee still going. And the pass is knocked down. And Druku toes it back. And that's the second time that Lee has lost the ball in that position on the field. Trying to get a pass out. Canberra seem to be getting in behind Danny Lee and knocking these passes down. There's Meninga with the hand.
Well, it's desperation time now for Cronulla. I've got to try. Here we see another break by Canberra.
It's Wiki who's come up with the ball from loose play. Fullaby, Nandruk has a head over heels and lost the ball.
Well, the missed tackles by Cronulla. We look at the errors. 28 errors to 10. There we see Fullaby to Nandruk. He tries to go on the 110-metre high hurdles.
I don't know whether Barnett can claim that as a tackle.
I bet
he
you
didn't
does.
even know where the player was.
But as we look at the missed tackles now, 22 missed tackles to Cronulla. Unbelievable situation.
Davidson flicking it out the back to Healy. 22-7, the tackles missed. Now it's Kearns. It's not as if Cronulla haven't been inside Canberra's half, but they're unable to go on with it from this position on the field.
Well, they're unable to sustain any pressure because they're coming up with loose balls.
Now that's a good pass from Lee to Neve, and the last pass again astray. Long can't keep it on the toe. Nandruku's got it. Away go Canberra. Mullins down to halfway. Too fast for Davidson. Here comes Watson. Nandruku crossing, giving chase. One more pass. Back to Mullins. It's champagne football here from the Raiders. It's basketball. It's beautiful. It's Canberra at their best.
It's beautiful, Warren. It's wonderful. It's fantastic. It's beautiful.
It's 28-0. And that's all Tim Sheens and John Lang have to think about. Half-time siren, I think, just went, but look at this. Again, it was Cronulla on the attack with a chance. Last pass from Neve, intended for Healy. Long completely as an air swing. And from really, just broken play, away goes Nandruku, and look at Mullins go.
Oh, what a fantastic player. Les Davidson, see you later. Good ball. What about Noah Nandruku? He thought he was playing in the Hong Kong Sevens there with that beautiful over the pass. That's the sort of football you pay money to come and see, Warren. I know you didn't pay, and I know I didn't pay, but I would pay to come and see football like that. There's Andrew Neve, just pushing one out the back, a little bit over the shoulder of his Cronulla teammate. Nandruku put this try down to big Noah. Great ball out to Mullins. He shows a clean pair of heels. Les Davidson says, touched. I think he touched him inside to Nandruku. Now, I thought Noah would have gone all the way himself here, but he just unselfishly pops it over to Mullins. A great try to the Raiders. And Ferner adds the extras.
So they've cracked 30 points in 40 minutes of football. A shell-shocked Cronulla creep towards the dressing room, but the fans are roaring. They're roaring in support of the Green Machine, and why not? They've scored 6 tries. Cronulla pointless. It's 30-0 at half-time. Time to give away some prizes, and last week's correct answer was Ivan Cleary. Peter Chaplin from Botany in New South Wales won a Canberra supporters pack, and our second winner was Sari Austin from Noble Park in Victoria, who won a Cronulla supporters pack. This week we take you back to last year's match between Cronulla and Canberra. It was a massacre by the Green Machine. Can you tell us who scored this try? Was it Jason Croker, Bradley Clyde, or John Lomax dashing over in the corner? If it was Jason Croker, the number to ring, they're all 0055 numbers. For Jason Croker, 0055 60524. For Bradley Clyde, the number is 0055 60525. And for John Lomax, 0055 60526. And when you ring, tell us which club you support. You could win a supporters pack with all the necessary equipment to cheer on your team. The lines are open until midnight Wednesday.
We'll rejoin the Rugby League shortly. Now, a quick look at AFL matches being played in Melbourne. In the big Carlton-Collingwood match, 9-9-63, Carlton well ahead of Collingwood, 4-7-31. Melbourne doing it easily over Hawks, 12-7 to 5-4. In North Melbourne, 11-11 over St Kilda, 5-3. And Footscray just trailing in the only close match of the game of the day, Footscray 10-4-64, Geelong 11-3-69. And in the British Open, 5 times winner Tom Watson has taken the lead at the halfway mark of the British Open Golf Championship at Turnberry in Scotland. Watson is leading the field at 7 under, with Greg Norman the pick of the Australians at 2 under. 7 Aussies remain in the field, 8 have missed the cut.
It was 17 years ago at this very course American Tom Watson won the Open, the 44-year-old deciding to take a trip down memory lane. A Super 5 under round 65 has Watson in a great position to equal Harry Varden's record of 6 Open titles.
It was a fun day to play. Whatever I tried today seemed to work, and that's what you need to do to win.
Fellow American Brad Faxon is reproducing the form that won in the Australian Open and is just 1 shot behind Watson.
A beautiful shot there from Brad Faxon.
Zimbabwe's Nick Price is playing with renewed vigour and capped a great round of 66 to be 2 shots off the pace. Overnight front runner New Zealand's Greg Turner dropped a shot today but still well in the hunt at 4 under. While American John Daly had a nightmare second round, it started well as he moved to 5 under. The double bogeys at 10 and 11 destroyed his day as he finished even with the card. Rookie Open contender England's Jonathan Lomas came as close as you can to an ace at 11. He's also 4 under the card.
Look at this one. Look at this one. Oh!
Best of the Australians is 2 times Open champ Greg Norman. Defending his title, the Shark picked up 3 shots today to be 2 under. While fellow Aussie Peter Senior picked up a couple of late birdies. This tee shot on 15, one of the best shots of the day, as he finished at -1, 6 behind leader Watson.
Could it be? And yet another shot finishes absolutely stone dead now.
4 National Basketball League matches played last night and some very close results. Perth beat Geelong, Canberra scraped home against Hobart, Adelaide over North Melbourne, and in the match of the season so far, Andrew Gaze has led Melbourne to victory over Brisbane in extra time.
Going into the match, Brisbane had the home court and home crowd advantage and raced to an early lead.
Copeland with his first shot of the night.
Dominating from the tip-off, Shane Heal and Leroy Loggins took control, throwing baskets at will.
Loggins scores again, Leroy Loggins.
The home side led at every break, at one stage racing 24 points clear, before the Tigers turned everything around. Inspired by captain Andrew Gaze, the Tigers staged one of the biggest comebacks in NBL history, Brisbane blowing a massive 23-point lead at three-quarter time.
Andrew Gaze, we have a 1-point ball game.
Gaze shooting a match-high 47 points.
This will tie it up. It ties it up.
A spectacular Melbourne victory in overtime.
What a comeback.
And don't forget, coming up at 5 o'clock today on ABC television, Melbourne Tigers versus Dandenong in the Women's National League. Time now to return to Bruce Stadium, and good afternoon again to Warren Boland.
Thanks, Rebecca. Well, it was one-way traffic in the first half, but what a half of football Canberra displayed, leading 30 points to 0 at half-time. Now, it's been an eventful couple of weeks for coaches off and even on the field. We'll talk about that in a moment, recapping on those events. But first, let's take a look at the competition ladder as it stands. At the completion of round 15 last week, when all the teams had played each other once, Canterbury led the way on 24 points, just ahead of Manly and Norths. Canberra 3 points back, 4th. Then Newcastle and Cronulla equal 5th on 18 points. Now, that top 6 are entitled to claim they should be fighting out the semis. But still alive due to the 2 zones and 22 rounds were Illawarra and Souths, equal 7th on 17. Brisbane 9th on 15, then Penrith and St George on 14. Wests headed the rest, all too far back. From round 8 to 15, when the 2 zones played against each other, the stronger zone won 44 matches, the weaker zone 19 with 3 draws. Of the top 8 teams on the ladder, 7 are from the strong zone, the exception being Norths, and conversely, the weak zone filled up the bottom half. Now, the teams finished the season with 7 games within their own zone. You've obviously got more chance of winning if you're in the weaker group, which includes Norths, Brisbane, St George and Penrith. The Broncos are currently 3 points behind 5th spot, St George and Penrith 4 points behind 5th. They're all still in with a chance of catching Newcastle and Cronulla and passing Illawarra and Souths, who have to continue winning against the top teams on the ladder. Here's their draw and when and where they play each other. Brisbane play all of their toughest matches away. Penrith play all the hard ones at home. St George have 2 out of 3 away. Well, at the moment, I mean, that top four look like they're set to go on and make the semis. Fifth spot is what is up for grabs, and you've got, well, I guess 7 or 8 teams all shooting for it. Do you give, first of all, Brisbane, Penrith or St George a chance of getting fifth?
Well, looking at that draw, Warren, I still like Brisbane.
Even though they play the big games away?
Yeah, they play the big games away, but I mean, Brisbane are a side, they haven't got that home ground hoodoo that the likes of Canberra and Cronulla have. They can win away from home, Brisbane. Well, they've won 2 grand finals away from home, so I still like Brisbane with their draw to make up that the final 5, but, it could go either way.
What about Newcastle, South, Illawarra?
Well, Newcastle, I watched them last weekend. They were incredibly impressive against Brisbane. I really like their style. I think their forward pack's tremendous. And they've got, I believe, probably the most outstanding young player in the game today in their 5'8", Matthew Johns. I think he's an outstanding player. If he can stay fit, Newcastle are a big chance.
Sure. Well, it's going to be a very interesting battle. We've got 6 games, 6 rounds after this one. But I tell you what, it looks like Canberra are going to be there, doesn't it? Now, I was saying what a fortnight it has been for the coaches, most recently at Wests. First East axed Mark Murray as coach for 1995, although Murray had a contract for next year. Then referee Bill Harrigan ordered Penrith coach Phil Gould from the sideline in last week's loss to Cronulla, who won the penalties 13-2. The Penrith club will answer Harrigan's report on the match this week. Then West sacked Warren Ryan as coach for 1995, although Ryan had a contract, and the two parties agreed Ryan would leave immediately, handing the reins as caretaker for the rest of the season to under-21s coach and football manager Wayne Ellis. Well, what's it all about? Well, all season, Ryan has made it clear that he believed Wests were down on talent and he wanted the football club to buy some better players and not just other clubs' rejects. Ryan obviously felt the club had to spend more on players and spend it more wisely. Warren is well known as a blunt, sometimes abrasive character, and it's no surprise relations with the board of the football club deteriorated. Only last week, Ryan asked 8 or so players to sign statutory declarations that they would only sign new contracts on the basis that he was the coach next year. No doubt the board didn't appreciate this tactic. Wests don't have a major sponsor, and the board may also feel that scarce corporate dollars will be more forthcoming under a new coach. Then there's the question of the spirit within the club. Last year, there was hostility between some players and the coach, but I'm told things have been fairly harmonious in '94, and that despite the comments from Paul Langmack this week and a newspaper article suggesting laughter and a sense of relief at training after the sacking, that in fact the atmosphere was quite subdued. There are a number of candidates for the job. One is former Wests international Tommy Raudonikis, who has coached with success in the Brisbane competition. And Tommy Raudonikis has to be a chance, particularly if John Singleton wants to weigh in with a bit of support, both financial and, I guess, promotional. But then there's also former West international John Dorrie. I wouldn't be surprised if he's interested. Wayne Ellis, who is the caretaker coach, has been coaching the under-21s, current football manager of the club. And I know Brian Cook, the reserves coach, and the reserves are in the top 5 at the moment. He has claims and will apply for the job. Any others you've heard in the offing?
No, I haven't heard any others, but I'd like to see Tommy get the job. I mean, he's a tremendous character, Tommy Raudonikis, and I think rugby league needs blokes like Tommy Raudonikis. I mean, all the other coaches talk about ball control and field position, and Tommy will just get out there and say it straight. And I think Western Suburbs really need a little bit of spirit and a little bit of depth in the club at the moment. Just on Warren Ryan saying that they needed to buy new players, and well, you know, in my opinion, I mean, you look at the likes of Taylor, Hill, Gillespie, Darren Britt, Jim Dimmick, they've all left the club under Warren Ryan's reign, and they're all turned out to be, well, they were fantastic players when they were at West, so why didn't they keep those players? I mean, you can't go out and buy better players than those 5 guys I've just mentioned. Why weren't they still at the club?
Well, I don't know whether the money attracted them away from the club or whether they left because, you know, they were unhappy at the club. I mean, a bit of both may have been the case.
Well, perhaps it was, but I mean, you know, that's a question that's got to be answered by the Western Suburbs board, and no doubt they took that into consideration when they made their decision to sack Warren Ryan.
Ultimately, it comes down to results, doesn't it? I mean, Warren Ryan got West to the semis 2 years in a row when he started out, but the last 2 years they've been floundering. What about, you look at Parramatta, the Gold Coast, Balmain. In the last 2 seasons, they've struggled. They've been down the bottom. Both clubs have changed their coaches. Where are they this season? Still down the bottom. I mean, changing a coach isn't the secret of success necessarily.
Well, not necessarily, but as I said, I think the big question that has to be answered by the Western Suburbs people is the fact that there's so many players have left. I mean, if you could pick a team of the Western Suburbs players that have left under Warren Ryan's coaching, I mean, they'd probably beat the current West team by 40 points.
What about the style of Warren Ryan's coaching? It doesn't appear to have changed from the days when he was successful winning premierships. It's still very much an organised pattern where you put players into certain positions on the field. They know exactly where they are in set moves. But, I mean, some people consider that to be negative. What do you reckon?
Well, I don't know. You know, he's been successful, very much successful in the 80s, Warren Ryan, and he's sticking to his successful style. But I don't know if that had much to do with it, really, honestly.
OK. Well, what have we got for you next? The crowd. We can check the half-time stats and just see what the statistics of the game say. What we really know is that Canberra were just plain brilliant with the ball. Time in possession, I mean, Canberra had a little more ball to work with. Time in the opposition half, again, not so dominant. That was the major factor. Completed sets, Canberra completing 11 sets of 6 to Cronulla's 7. Line breaks, tells the story if nothing else does. 13 line breaks for Canberra, only 5 by Cronulla, and the kicks in general play about even. They're just waiting for the teams to return. In fact, they're ready to go. And what can Cronulla do in this second half? And there it is, play underway.
Well, what do you do? What do you do with the Sharkies? You're getting flogged at half-time. Very hard proposition, very hard task to come out with enthusiasm in the second half when you basically know that you can't claw yourself back into this game. And the Raiders are playing pretty hot football. What happened down in the dressing rooms, Deb?
Well, Jacko, enthusiasm was the key word as far as Tim Sheens is concerned. He wants the guys to maintain their enthusiasm. And he reminded him about a game last year where they led Balmain by this margin and ended up coming away with a draw. I asked about the Fulavine and Druko switch over, and they said that sort of decision is made based on the statistics of their work rate. So if you understand that, well done. Peardy, what was happening with Cronulla?
Well, Johnny Lang's just appealed on his team to win the second half. Just get back to playing football, looking after the simple things, the basic fundamentals of the game. He wants them to win the second half.
Yeah, it's interesting, Debbie, as you say, the question of the wingers switching. I don't think there could have been too much statistical information on work rate after 10 minutes of play.
Maybe tries. That was the work rate. They've all both scored a couple, or they've both been involved in a couple of tries. Fulavine scored a couple. But Johnny Pearce, I'll have to ask you this question as being a former coach yourself. I mean, well, 36-0 last week against Penrith, Cronulla, and Penrith aren't a mug outfit.
It was only 32-0, Jacko.
Well,
I hate to draw your attention to it. Someone will write and tell you, so I might as well tell you now.
All right, 32-0 last week against Penrith, and I mean, they're getting absolutely flogged down here at Bruce Stadium. What do you put that down to?
Yeah, well, I once went to a fancy dress party dressed as a coach. I remember that. No, very, very difficult week to week. You've just got to be on your game every week. I think this is just that kick by Neve out of well over the sideline again. But I just think you've just got to look after the basic fundamentals. That early start, I think, is very important. And I think if you can give a team like Canberra a start, you're in for a beating. But just looking after those things early in the game, Jacko, I think. You know, those missed tackles were costly, weren't they? There's no excuse for slipping off some of those tackles.
Jacko, I mean, equally, you can talk about Cronulla playing away from home, but 2 weeks ago we saw Canberra playing away from home at North Sydney, and they weren't a quarter of this outfit, this style of football, this intensity.
Yeah, a little forward pass by David Furner. Well, he went out of the commentary box at half-time and had a word to a few of the Canberra Raiders supporters. Here he is, David Furner, just trying to slip a little one-hander here to Brett Mullins, and he was, well, it was a little bit iffy, but the referee pulled it up. And I spoke to a couple of the Canberra Raiders supporters, and they said, it's unbelievable, this is the side that got beaten by the Gold Coast. And it's a pretty good point.
Yeah, that was after a rep match, and there were a few out, but you're right, beaten by the Gold Coast, away from home, beaten by Norths just 2 weeks ago in a lacklustre display, 25 points to 10. Today, unstoppable. Offloads, Davidson, Healy, long, he's lost it, went forward to Bell.
That's been their problem, Warren. Something promising, and they always spill the ball. And Canberra's just decided to capitalise on those errors.
Yeah, well, on the first half, there's the stats. The top tacklers for Canberra, Hetherington coming up with 17, Lomax 14, Nathan Long 11, and Danny Lee once again leading the charge for Cronulla, 21. And let's mention, talking about tacklers, let's mention Dave Watson, because I believe the score would probably be 40-0 if it wasn't for Dave Watson.
Now here's Croker. Now Croker might go all the way here. Crossan's coming from the far side. Mullins is inside. Mullins is not going to be caught from there. Well, it just looks like more of the same. It's a feast of football here, and it's all coming from Canberra. And Brett Mullins streaking away. I thought that Jason Croker may have added to his tally of 15 tries for the season, but Crossan and a couple of teammates were just closing in on him, and Mullins positioned himself beautifully, and Tim Sheen still doesn't look too satisfied yet. He wants more of this. Croker just throwing a dummy, going straight across field. Nandruku was one inside, but Mullins was the better pick, and away he races. And doesn't he have some speed, Brett Mullins?
Well, fantastic. You watch Jason Croker, he drifts across field, but watch his decoy runners. There's one. There's another decoy runner. That puts the Cronulla in two minds, the defensive line in two minds. Geez, a fantastic player, this guy. If he hasn't got Kangaroo Tour written all over me, I'm not here. And Mullins, once again, that long striding fullback, the Australian fullback, a great try to the Raiders underneath the post. Here it is again. Now watch these decoy runners. Big Mal comes in, he sucks two in. Then Wiki sucks another couple in. That opens up the hole for Croker. I thought he might go all the way himself, Warren, but Mullins, hungry for a try, always sniffing. Great backup by the fullback.
Furner puts 2 more points on the board, and the embarrassment continues over at Cronulla. I'm sure they're starting to creep out of the lounge rooms. It's 36 points to 0 to the Raiders.
We've seen this many times today. A promising Cronulla Shark movement comes unstuck, and this team really makes you pay. But those decoy runners just pulled all Cronulla's defence to one side. And when you get pace like Mullins, it's just incredible. It's not fair that these blokes are born with so much speed.
You sound a little bit jealous, Johnny. You were one of the quickest players I ever saw.
They used to time me with a calendar.
It was relative motion. If you ran backwards as Johnny was running forwards, he looked really quick. There's the Brett Mullins fan club. They've had plenty to cheer about. Hetherington slips it back to Walters. Walters goes up the middle, and Long tackles him. Nathan Long, who came on as a replacement among the top 3 tacklers for his side, so he's doing his work. Somebody else is missing a lot.
Oh, here he goes again.
Now he might go all the way this time. Watson comes to him, and back inside. Guess who? Guess who it is?
It's touch football.
It's Brett Mullins. Ah, this is remarkable football, and really, Cronulla have to hang their heads in shame. No matter how good Canberra are, this defence is just paper thin. There are holes everywhere. Croker's done it again here. He's just dummied and gone through. Borton left behind, but he wasn't the only one who was in the culprit. And Mullins is becoming just like a training run for him.
Well, here we see now Jason Croker. Now Cronulla are a sliding defence. And Brett Mullins, here he is, backing up on the inside. Big Mal can't get there. He's getting a bit slower, the big fella, but Mullins is there. 3 tries in 6 minutes. What a 6 minutes. What a purple patch for Brett Mullins. Here we see again. Now the Cronulla players are just hanging off. They're not getting the guy with the football. Dave Borton comes up with a dive and a miss. And here he is. Watch Mullins scream into the screen there. Comes up with his 3rd try in 6 minutes. What a purple patch for the Brett Mullins boy, the man from Yass.
Well, the nightmares continue for Watson. They just keep pouring through at him. And the ball is rolled off the mound.
Well,
I mean, if you're Jason Croker, you've got 15 tries. He could have gone for the corner there and maybe got 2 more. Unselfishly, he's done the right thing and positioned the better men, but he was a chance to go all the way to the corner twice.
Can I just say that Tim Sheens looks like someone out of a menswear brochure today? I'm impressed. Don't you think
the man from Snowy River.
Oh, I just thought it looked like one of those Grace Brothers fashion lift-outs or something.
Very handsome.
Oh, you think so, Warren?
I just meant stylish, you know, the sort of the model look.
He is looking good, isn't he, Timmy Sheen? Don't know about the beard.
Now we're fashion consultants.
See, when the ball falls off the mound, the conversation can turn any direction.
Burner. And it's just, talk about salt. It's the salt mines into the wounds of Cronulla. 42-0 now. The score mounts.
Yeah, this will just show the Cronulla defence. They're a little short there. Borton's got caught wide, but he's a back rower. He's a lock. He just gets beaten by pace by Croker. Mal just can't keep up. But look at Mullins looming up. And I don't know whether he's from Yass, but if you take the Y off, he's showing you plenty of what's left.
Oh,
and that's what Cronulla are seeing.
Oh, that was worth the wait.
See. and that's a record margin currently for Canberra. Last year they beat Cronulla 46-6, the biggest score they'd ever put on against the Sharks. So that was a 40-point difference. They're 42-0 at the moment. Got a penalty here.
Penalty from Graham Annesley. There's a hand in there by Danny Lee. Just hanging on a little bit long to Pongia. And he comes up with the penalty first. Well, it's the first penalty to Canberra for the game. They haven't needed penalties today. Look at the missed tackles for Cronulla. Unbelievable. 28 missed tackles in 50 minutes of football. You really can't seriously say Cronulla are semi-final contenders when they come up with that many tackles. In a big game today, too. It's a big game for them. It's just a fight for their survival. And they've really come down here and they've come up empty.
It's interesting, we were talking about the importance of Eddinghausen not being on the field. Now, I'm sure Eddinghausen wouldn't be able to turn this scoreline around, but his defence in the centres has been sadly missing.
Oh, exactly.
In fact, Johnny Lang reckons that Andrew Eddinghausen's defence is as good as anyone's in the game in the centres. He drives up into the ribs.
Well, I can't disagree with that. A lot of people, you see Canberra throw the ball wide. Ricky Stewart out to Croker. Big Mal's there as well. Puts the kick back inside. And
Mullins is after it. Doesn't get the bounce. Green's got it for Cronulla. It's a near thing. Neat chip from Meninga. He knew exactly where he was putting it. He had chasers.
Here we see out the back line, Big Mal, a bit of a cross kick then. Back inside, looking for Mullins, obviously. If he gets a bounce, it's probably another try to Canberra. Getting back to the Andrew Eddinghausen situation, a lot of people have a misconception because Andrew Eddinghausen is probably, well, he is the glamour boy of rugby league. He's got the good looks, and he's got all the promotional stuff and the endorsements. A lot of people think that because of that, Andrew Eddinghausen isn't tough. Let me tell you right now, here and now, Andrew Eddinghausen is tough and a good defender.
Now Green kicks low and short, and that's a nothing kick. Really, that was an absolutely useless kick. I mean, if you're going to kick short, you've got to have a chance of getting through to it. It didn't go deep, it went nowhere. Johnny Lang, look at the frustration. Penalty's going to go against Cronulla here. The penalty's evening up to 2-2.
There he is, Paul Green laying all over Hetherington there. He's saying to the referee, he had hold of me. But what a frustrating afternoon for the little Cronulla halfback. He's been in outstanding form this season. Probably wishes he never jumped on the plane this morning.
And here come the Raiders again. Well, Paul Green has his pilot's licence. He might have jumped in his own Learjet and come down.
I bet you he wishes he could jump him on now.
20 metres out, and Canberra, it only seems a matter of time till they're in again. The dummies to Wiki from Stewart. That was better defence by Cronulla. Stewart goes across field, dummies to flick out the back to Hetherington now. Pass didn't reach Meninga, he was knocked over on suspicion. Now Nandruku's got it. Meninga runs to the blind side, back inside to Hetherington. He's upended, out it comes to Nandruku, and Cronulla have come up with it. Nandruku losing the ball there in the tackle for no apparent reason. Borton with the ball. Attempted right back by Walters. The penalty goes against him. Walters claims that he'd done everything right.
Well, probably not
really
standing square in front, Stevie Wale. He's asking the question. He's entitled to ask the question. Graham Annesley gave him an explanation as to why. Probably a little bit.
Jacko, I mean, we know how good the Canberra backline is, but a mate of mine was talking to Scott Gale recently, Scotty Gale, who played with Canberra, and he was saying, what moves did the Canberra backs have? And he said, well, we had 4 moves. The first one was to give it to Stewart. The second one was to give it to Daly. The third one was to give it to Meninga. And if we needed a fourth one, we just gave it to Belcher. I mean...
Or Brett Mullins now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
well, they're pretty good players, aren't they?
The natural talent of guys like this. So, yeah, I guess you don't need too much organisation. They just do it spontaneously.
Yeah, well, they do a lot of skills work, Cam. We see Cronulla trying to do something out on the right-hand side. They do a lot of skills work. I know Big Mal Meninga is very, very much a dedicated skills man. And as you can see, the angles they run. Here goes Green.
And he finds Bell inside. Bell had support, but he found it on his right-hand side. And Cronulla have broken their duck. Andrew Neve, backing up down the centre, has scored the try. It's been a long, long time coming for the Sharks, but they're on the board. It's Canberra 42, Cronulla 4. It was started by the nippy little halfback, Paul Green. Shows the ball inside, cuts through, some sloppy defence from Croker. And Bell was there in support. Bell had some men on his left, on his right. He decided to go for his hooker up the middle.
Yeah, Paul Green holding the ball out in front of him. Just a little bit of a gap there between Croker and Wesley. And Neve goes over beside the post. Canberra wouldn't be happy with that. A good performance for Canberra now would be to keep Cronulla tryless. There he goes through that hole. Left by Wesley, not coming across in defence, and Andrew Neve backing up like all good hookers, taking a leaf out of Steve Walters' book. But Canberra wouldn't be happy with that. Big Mal Meninga probably laying down the law to his players now. No more tries, he'd be saying. They've got to come up with a good defensive effort in the second half, Canberra, to really ram home the difference between these two sides.
And Cronulla have just made a replacement. Staines has gone back on for Dave Borton.
It's taken 54 minutes for Cronulla to get on the board, and Ian Crossan delaying things, as he calls, for the sand boy to bring out the sand. I think the Canberra crowd think, well, you're that far behind, who worries about the goals? Get on with it. Took a long time for the sand boy to hear the call. Brett Hetherington getting applause from the crowd.
John Lomax has just gone on for him, and I was watching Lomax warming up. They're actually doing ball handling work on the sideline just to warm him up. I presume it's to warm up the hands in this kind of weather, but you see players exercising a bit but not handling the ball.
And Crossan converts the try. So some relief for Cronulla, but a long, long way behind. 42 points to 6 to Canberra.
Yeah, Canberra's, even though they've been brilliant with the ball, they have had some defensive lapses today. This one, Wesley was just too slow. It wasn't Croker's man. Wesley just didn't slide quick enough. Inside ball to Bell. And, of course, the hooker, dummy half, Andrew Neve dives over. But there have been some defensive weaknesses in the Canberra play today.
The amazing thing is, when you hear of a team beating another team by 40, 50, even 60 points, and say the score is 60 points to 6, or 60 points to 0, even more so, the coaches say I was very happy with the defence today. I mean, they've scored 60 points. Seem happier if you keep the opposition tryless.
Well, there's one bloke in the Cronulla team that can't be faulted today on his effort, at least, and that's Danny Lee. He's come up with 28 tackles, incredible. 28 tackles in 55 minutes of football.
Yeah, I mean, he's known for his ability to cart the ball up to unload a few passes, but for a couple of seasons now, he's made more tackles than any other player in the competition.
And he's a big guy too. That's the surprising thing about it. Usually big guys don't have the work rate, but he's an incredibly big fellow, and he comes up with the work rate as well.
Bell's chasing this kick through. He's got the bouncer support there too. Neve tries for another one, goes to Green. It's play on. Paul Green for the line. He may be shorter. Is he over? He's over. Now, this will be interesting whether or not there was a double movement. They seem to make hard work of it. Paul Green looked like he chopped back into the defence rather than going away from it. But they have scored. And this is talk about a try fest. 42 to 10 now to Canberra. Neve pops a beautiful kick through. And Bell, perfectly timed. The bounce pops up. Neve with the pass deflects. Now Green decides to come back in and try and catch them on the wrong foot. He's very, very close, but it looks like a fair try, and that's the way the referee read it.
Here we see Andrew Neve. Neve and Green have tried to spark this Cronulla side. The two former Eastern Suburbs players from Brisbane. Bell picks up a nice little kick. Neve's there. He's had a good game, Neve. He's tried hard. It comes off Ricky Stewart's hand, and Green just rolling over here to get the ball down. So Ricky really dragged him across the line with his tackle, but at that stage there was not much else he could do. Here we see it again. A nice little chip kick over the top. Well read by Neve. Bell's there on the fly. A good chase by him. Inside to Neve again. And Green's there as well.
All the talk has been of Neve and Bell joining from Brisbane, but in fact, Bell, I should say, the talk has been of Green and Neve, but Bell too came from Brisbane East. So he's finally making his mark. Crossan has landed it. What have we got on the board now? Some 54 points have been scored in the game. Canberra have got most of them.
Yeah, look at Andrew Neve here. Does it very well, the chip, because he pulls the defence right up. And then Druker beaten there for pace by Bell. And inside, and of course, Neve's had a very good game. I like him. He's a former halfback, so he knows how to use the ball, knows when to run and kick. He did that very well.
Dangerous situation here for Canberra. I think they've really got to dig their heels in now and not let Cronulla get too many more tries on the board. can really take the gloss off a victory.
The second half score is 12-all, Peter, at the present time.
Bad luck about the first half. Here's Davidson getting it out to 25 metres. Cronulla will suddenly be feeling a little more confident about things. Got a pep in their step all of a sudden. Staines. Because there's been, you know, all the talk, I think, of the likes of Neve and Paul Green, their success, and I know for a fact that all of a sudden there's been quite a few Sydney scouts looking around the Brisbane competition to see if there are more gems to be plucked. But there are a number of players, I think there's 6 or 7 guys going around in the lower grades for Cronulla who played in the Brisbane comp in the last 2 seasons who haven't yet made the transition. So, I mean, there's some good players, and Neve and Green are 2 examples, but it doesn't automatically mean that you're going to step up. Here's Fullerby. Canberra crowd seem to be starting to roar to get their team back into the motion again, and there's a pass from came from Mullins to Meninga. Meninga's pass went nowhere to no one.
Well, there's Big Mal. He's asking the question of Noah. Look, he's saying, where were you, Noah? I popped up a good pass. There he is. Big Mal, he flicks one out there thinking Noah Nandruka would be on the fly, but Noah a little bit slow to react. And that came off a Cronulla player, actually, so that should be a Canberra feed, which it is.
And we've got a replacement about to come on for Cronulla. Andrew Hick is going back on. Les Davidson will be coming off.
Here's Croker tackled in centre field. That's Hick on the sideline.
Canberra will just work it to the left-hand side. There's Johnny Lomax taking one up.
Lomax feinted to go back into the forwards, then stepped away from them, got to the fringe, made plenty of metres. Stewart. Croker. Debbie or John, you might be able to tell me, what are the crowd roaring about? It doesn't seem to necessarily coincide with the action on the field.
I think at one stage the Canberra reserves are out warming up and the crowd were cheering them on.
I think they're just trying to keep warm, Warren.
No, it's true, because I turned around to see what all the cheering was about, and the only thing I could see was the Canberra reserves coming out for a warm-up.
Now, Crossan throwing the ball back inside as he was nearly into touch, and Watson works it out to Neve, keeping it alive, but there's Meninga to bring an end to that. Slams Staines into the ground. Long hit hard by Wesley, who dumps him a little more and almost incurs a penalty. Lee. Green. Healy over the top. Higgins. No, this isn't Higgins. Who is this out there?
It's Wrigley.
He swapped headgear and taken Higgins' headgear. Up the middle goes Kearns.
This is better control from the Cronulla side. Just shows you a little bit more ball. You can put pressure on any side if you can maintain possession. Look after the ball, keep it in good nick, and you can make some inroads. Here's Mullins again, feeds it off to the Prince.
And he's tackled by Staines, and Dan Staines is playing very wide at the moment in attack. Canberra have just gone off the boil a little. Haven't gone into their shell, though. Here's Croker, 10 short of halfway.
I think Cronulla have picked their effort up a little bit, especially in defence. Stevie Wilder's going for a bit of jog up the middle of the field. But Cronulla's defensive effort has lifted a little bit in the last 5 or 10 minutes. A couple of tries, put a bit of pep back into their step, but here they are now, they're short.
Meninga keeps it going to Mullins. He streaks away from Green. Has support on both sides, and here's a try to Croker. So he's got his one for the match. And it's tremendous support play. We're just saying that the Cronulla defensive effort had improved. They seemed to have Canberra contained, and all of a sudden they break loose. Started by a great offload here by Lomax. Canberra didn't seem to be getting those passes away as much, but then they suddenly go wide. Lovely ball from Meninga, and the sheer speed of Mullins turns that half chance into a real opportunity. Lovely ball back inside. Even though there was some scrambling defence, it wasn't enough to stop Croker.
Here we Johnny Lomax sucks a few Cronulla defenders in here. Ricky Stewart now. Good ball here by Croker. Big Mel, another big ball. Meninga to Mullins, Meninga to Mullins. You'll get sick of hearing that over the next couple of years. Don't worry about that. And there's Croker in underneath the post. He set up a couple for Mullins, and Mullins returns the favour.
Mal Meninga's hands and short passes have been just superb in the past month. Sometimes they've dominated his ability to run the ball, but his passing is so perfect. His timing excellent.
See David Ferner just about to move in and take this kick. Just about to throw this over from here. You could probably kick this one, Peardy.
I reckon Debbie could kick it.
Of course she could. There it is. Straight
and
through the
flags
post.
are up. So Canberra's dominance now reasserted after Cronulla had hit back with 2 tries. It's 48-12.
Look at this skill from, there's just a second man play there, but look at the Cronulla defence. They're all drawn in. There's definitely overs here. All it took was a couple of good hands, especially that one from Mal. That's when the speed takes over, unselfishly, inside the Croker, another speed man. But good skill by Lomax. I mean, that's what should be mandatory for all front rowers to look to improve their skills along those lines. And there's Mal on the sideline.
Graham Appo has gone on taking his place. That was what the crowd was cheering about that time, Warren, about Meninga coming to the bench.
Graham Appo in jersey 15. He's slotting in to the side, out on the wing by the look of it. Now Walters makes a few metres.
Hey, Warren, a bloke in a singlet just put a rug around Mal Meninga's shoulders.
Now they're bringing out a blanket.
You think there's something a bit strange about that theory? Jeez. Laurie Nichols, eat your heart out. Here we see Ricky punching one to the sideline. Tremendous kicking game, Ricky Stewart. In fact, I spoke to Ricky after the State of Origin game, and he was telling me about the footballs they're using, these Steeden footballs they're using. He said he can't seem to get the distance he used to get, so maybe they've changed the manufacturing of the football, because Ricky Stewart, I mean, 70, 80-metre kicks was the norm for Ricky Stewart, and you'll probably notice in the last, well, certainly this season, his kicks haven't been gaining as much ground as they used to.
Nearly 12,000 people here. Well, didn't Ricky Stewart say in the third Origin match at Lang Park, he suddenly found he could get more distance because the Queensland League used different balls?
Well, he woofed those balls. In fact, his kicking game in that third State of Origin game is probably one of the dominating factors in New South Wales' win, because he woofed them down 80 metres like we've become used to.
Healy finds touch from the penalty.
Yeah, David Turner not squaring up in the marker situation there, so Cronulla back on the attack.
Lee, only 20 metres out.
Be interesting to see who's captain in Mal's absence. I'd imagine Ricky Stewart would get the job, Deb.
No answer.
Sorry.
Because there's no Laurie Daly out there.
I had my headphones off. We were just actually talking about that very subject. We're finding out.
Here's Healy now as the ball comes back from Hick. Long, nowhere to go, runs into trouble. 15 out. Neve gives it to Lee on the gallop. Galloping indeed for the line. Defence just closed in time. Good burst. Only a few metres out. The Sharks looking for their third try. Back inside comes Watson, flicks it back to Hick. Hick given some room to move. Last tackle coming up now. Green chips it, came off Pongia, back to Long. They've got 6 more. I didn't think Canberra played at that. Annesley's given Cronulla another 6. Kearns not far out. He's played it forward, lost it anyway, and Canberra have got the ball. And they shovel it almost behind their line. Croker lost it. Who's got it? Canberra have retrieved it to force a scrum.
And Jacko, I got an answer for you on that. Yes, it is Ricky Stewart taking over captaincy with Meninga on the sideline, and also check Meninga isn't going back on.
This was the incident where Robbie Kearns played it forward, almost could have drawn a penalty there, lost it anyway, and lost ball out here, brought it all undone on the first tackle.
Showing great confidence. Here we go, the Sharkies back on the attack.
Healy, they need to get it to this side. Green knows that he's done it. Out it comes to Wrigley. And he's brought down 9 metres out by Appo. Bell. Uncertainty there, though. Wasn't too sure what he was supposed to be doing with it. Hitting it up or throwing it wide. Neve works the plays to Hick. Man-on-man tackle affected there by Walters. Now it's Green. Healy. Back to Green. Watson is dangerous. Where's he going to go? Knocked over eventually by Bradley Clyde. We haven't seen that much of in the second half. Punch from Watson. He and Walters are into it. Play goes on with Neve and Healy. Healy's still there. The touch judge is in. Punch is still being thrown.
Oh, Clyde, what are you doing?
Oh, they're all into it. Well and truly. Walters is still going at it with Neve, I think it is, or Watson. With Watson. That's where it started. Steve Walters and Dave Watson.
Well, he's copped one. He's copped one. Stevie Walters on the goink. On the stars. Here we see it now. Now, Stevie Walters just hanging on to the football. Now, Dave Watson throws the first punch and got Stevie Walters on the nose. And Steve was going to take that. You watch Bradley Clyde here on this situation. We've lost it. The camera's gone with the play, as they should do. But the fight's on the left-hand side. Now, Clyde got a few good ones in there as well. Bradley Clyde. Now, let's have a good look at this stink here. Now, Dave Watson gets up. He throws one at Steve Walters, and he didn't appreciate that, Steve.
It was an open-hander from Walters, too.
And Bradley Clyde, now in comes someone here.
Hick.
Now, Clyde, Hick comes in. Now he wants Clyde, give him a few. Whack, 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 push, push. It's on. Bradley Clyde, he's a pacifist, Clyde. I've never seen him throw a punch before in his life. But he's in the dominant position, Petey. He's on top.
He's enjoying it. Canberra have got the penalty. And that's fair. That's justice against Watson. He was the one who started it. As I said, you can see Steve Walters, he almost thought about it. I think he threw a punch at me and he swung out his left, which I'm pretty sure was an open palm.
Dave Watson sort of...
Hick has bitten off more than he could chew with
Bradley Clyde
there.
Especially when you're underneath.
There's no business of Hick coming in to have anything to do with that. It was one-on-one. And that's what the rugby league officials don't like seeing. They don't want to see one-on-ones escalate into all-ins.
Yeah, well, probably, you know, in saying that, Bradley Clyde is probably no cleaner player. Look at Cronulla are way up inside the 10 metres there. Cronulla must have been 3 metres back from the play of the ball then.
Well, not surprisingly, Annesley's moving in over the ruck. He's worried that tempers are going to flare again. Wants to keep a close eye on the contact. Here's Furner, good run. Ran into Neve, he forced him back inside.
Well, after that little stoush, I hope the players shake hands and make up after the game. We saw last night a pretty unsavoury incident between a couple of the players in the game.
Bit of tough stuff going in now. I think it's Nathan Long, and it's on again. Well, this is dragging down what's been a tremendous display of football. This time, I think it's Robbie Kearns in there, and it could be John Lomax. But I don't know that they were the ones who started it.
Johnny Lang not impressed with his players in this situation. And this is, well, you're right, Warren, it's dragging down. There's Stevie Walters, he's got a bloodied face again.
He's in the blood bin.
It's dragging down what would be a good game of football. I think Mal Mening is not out there to try.
Nathan Long has been sent to the sin bin for 10 minutes. And that's pretty stupid football from him. He had to know that the referee was just waiting to crack down on anyone who was going to start the stupid stuff again. Now Lomax is in as well. Both touch judges telling the referee exactly what they saw. A long booed to the dressing room by the Canberra fans. Lomax is going to join him.
And Canberra have sent on Jason Death in 22 to replace Steve Walters. They had him warming up anyway.
Well, I'll tell you what, losing a little bit of control.
Watch for blonde-headed Nathan Long to start. There's a bit of a high tackle there from Lee. There's Long comes in. Now, what happens from here? Hick over the top. Still just a wrestling match to this point. Oh, well, you could see Lomax was holding Long and Long started to swing them. I think that's what's happened. But really, there hadn't been anything illegal up until that point that we could see.
I think Nathan Long's probably got the raw end of the bargain on that situation. Yeah, well, the referee had ruled a forward pass, and Johnny Lomax going in there basically saying to Nathan Long, the whistle's gone, get out of it. And Nathan Long wanted to go on with the tackle, but David Furner will get a shot for 2 points. But pretty silly play there by both players.
I mean, I suppose you've got to say, in Long's defence, he didn't go in throwing punches initially. He objected to being wrestled away by Lomax. But, I mean, once you start throwing punches, there's 3 officials who are going to see you. So it's Furner from 30 metres out, right in front of the post. He's kicked 6 goals. 9 tries and 6 goals in the Canberra tally.
9 tries, unbelievable.
This to bring up 50. Son of Don Furner, the Australian chairman of selectors. And that's straight between the sticks. Well, the Canberra fans have had plenty to cheer about. 50 points to 12. We've seen some big scores this year, haven't we?
Certainly on the Saturday coverage, we have seen some big scores. Manly 66 points to 6 against Western Suburbs. Is that the right score, Deb?
Oh, I'm sorry. Which one?
66 to 6 against Manly versus West. Is that right?
I'll check for you.
Thank you.
I actually have it. No, Petey's suggesting that you're wrong. I'll just check that for you. It's in the program.
66 to 8, I think.
66 to 8, okay.
61-0 recently.
I've only watched 100 games of football this year.
You just have to try concentrating a bit harder, Jacko.
62 points in the match so far, and we've got about 6 minutes of play left, and there's been plenty of action, whether it's been with the ball or with the fists in the last 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, I think both sides would be well advised to settle down a little bit.
Away goes Furner.
Oh, what a pass.
Now it's Fuller by Barnett. Angle tapped in, but that pass has been called back, and it was right in front of us, a long way away. Pretty flat.
It looked okay to me. Graham Annesley in a better situation tonight. Graham Annesley's probably handled this little bit of conflict pretty well. Here we see Dave Furner going for a bit of a burst.
That's okay.
Oh, that looked okay to me. Pretty hard from that angle, but Warren. It looked okay from the camera angle. Perhaps it wasn't okay. Let's give Graham Annesley the benefit of the doubt. He's had a fine game this afternoon. It's been a testing time for him, especially in the second half. A lot of tempers being frayed. He's handled it pretty well, I think.
Jason Deep is out there for Steve Walder. Sorry, Dave.
I was just going to say, Jacko, it was 66-8, so you were wrong again, I'm afraid, that West Manly game.
Thanks for that.
That's all right. My pleasure.
We've got another replacement coming out for Canberra. Looks like Roger Kenworthy. So they're all being given a rest by Tim Sheens. Kearns. And he had Healy coming up alongside him. Realised too late. Inside the Canberra 20. Green. Swings it out to Watson. He's had a pretty fair game in a losing side, Dave Watson.
He's tried hard, Dave Watson. He's a fantastic player, Dave Watson.
Green kicks for Barnett. Nandruku waiting. Barnett's there. And a near thing. Nandruku managing to come up with it. Well-placed kick by Green.
Canberra bringing off their try-scoring wizard, Brett Mullins. That's who number 17, Kenworthy, is coming on for.
He's had a fantastic game too, Brett Mullins. You see Ruben Wiki going for a bit of a run down the centre of the park.
A weak defence by Cronulla. There's a missed tackle by Watson. Now it's Appo. Oh, lovely ball to Deep. Has Deep got the pace? There's no one else there to help him out. Crossan manages to get to him. Stops him 5 metres out. Now, from one side to the other, it's got to go. Stewart knows it. Is he going to pass or kick? He passes to Croker, to Clyde, and Clyde will romp over. He didn't place the ball down, but he does now. Tried to improve the position. Put it down to that great run initially by Wiki, who burst through some very feeble defence by Cronulla. Back down his own 20. And Tim Sheens, there he is, the man from Snowy River, up again. It's 54 to 12, and Clyde scoring, but all the hard work was done inside. He just had to finish it off. Look at this great burst here. Wiki, who misses him here? Well, I think it might have been, I won't even name him. Someone slipped. Poor attempt that time by Watson. Wiki, beautiful offload. Appo was there in support. Now, Jason Deep didn't quite have the speed from 30 metres out. Crossan was the only one who could get to him, though. Not a bad effort for the little hooker, showing that he's learned from Steve Walder's ability to back up the break down the centre. Now, Stewart took plenty of time to sum it up. He dragged some defence into him, kept them there, kept them wondering. And quick ball on from Croker to Clyde. It shows he's always thinking, didn't force it immediately.
Here we see Wiki's break. Now, this is a great ball inside. You watch this ball from Appo, former Tugan Seahawk up there on the Gold Coast. It's a long way from the Gold Coast here this afternoon. Now, Deep, he thought he was going to score a try. He's a bit worried. He tries to duck underneath Crossan's tackle. And Ricky Stewart sums up the situation perfectly here. And Ricky Stewart threw a great long ball. Bradley Clyde backing up as per usual. David Furner attempting to kick his 8th goal from the sideline. Can he kick it? I'll stick with me on this one, Warren, as he's having a deep breath. Moving in. He strikes it pretty good. It looks pretty good. It's over!
Well, the magic charm, you can get him to knock him over from out wide. 56-12. What a thrashing. Canberra all the way.
Yeah, this is the play after that good run by Deuce. But look at Ricky Stewart. All the time in the world, he sums it up. A Cronulla player came off the line. You just saw him out of the screen. Then Croker just fed it on. But just all the time in the world, Ricky Stewart picked his selective pass, landed in the right hands.
And I know it's academic at this stage, but they decided not to bring Mullins off, and they brought Clyde off instead. So that's who Roger Kenworthy's gone on for.
Well, good to see Bradley Clyde recovering from that terrible bout of concussion when he was actually taken to Royal North Shore Hospital after the Canberra versus North game. He's a very sick boy, so nice to see Clyde. He's recovered from that. He's been in everything today. He's been in a couple of tries, scored a couple of tries, been involved in a couple of tries, threw a few punches. He was in the stink. Very involved game today by Bradley Clyde.
Jacko, I still want to know, why are Canberra such a different side today to what we saw against Norths 2 weeks ago? I know the opposition's different. You've got to give credit to Norths on that occasion.
Well, it's hard to put your finger on. You're probably better off asking Johnny Peart. He's a coach. I'm just a player.
The countdown to the last seconds, but there's still a chance to get 60 points. They're going to have to go a long way. Further, 10 short of halfway. Now it's Croker. There's plenty of men there. The pass is allowed to go on. It's Mullins to Appo. Appo's still going. 60 points on Appo. Great tackle. Great tackle by Dave Watson. Oh, fitting performance by him on the death knell there. Dave Watson, take a bow. For Cronulla, he deserves plenty of credit today. It would have been 60 points for Canberra if Appo could have gone all the way there, and he was only a metre short. Instead, it's still a commanding performance by the Canberra Raiders, and they have defeated Cronulla by 56 points to 12. And amongst a host of fantastic players, who's your Jacko's judgment?
Well, it's a tough one. Brett Mullins in picture there. He scored 3 tries, but there's the Jacko's judgment for today. Jason Croker, he must have been involved in every one of Canberra's tries. Well, not every one of those tries, bit of an exaggeration there, but certainly half of the tries. He had a fantastic game, scored a try himself, set up 3 tries for Brett Mullins, in fact, so probably owes Brett Mullins probably owes Jason Croker a few beers this afternoon. He had a fantastic game and once again showed his ability to be a utility player. Put him anywhere he'll score tries, put him anywhere he'll set up tries. His defence was pretty good as well.
We can go down to Dan Staines, the disappointed Cronulla captain, with Johnny Peart.
Well, Dan, you had a good preparation for the game. They were white hot, weren't they?
Oh, they were, John. I thought we prepared well. I came down here with higher expectations than what we produced today. What can I say? I was very disappointed with our defence.
Yeah, you certainly slipped off a few tackles early, but if you give this team half a chance early in the game, you've got to nail them early, haven't you? Feel good in your own game early.
Oh, you sure do. I got to say, I wasn't prepared for the surface. It was a lot slipperier than I expected, and with their angled runners, I think we found it very hard to tie them up in the middle of the rucks, and consequently they were making a lot of yards out wide when they moved it.
Yeah. Well, did you come down last night? You don't put it down to that.
No. The club gave us every opportunity to win today, and they were just too good on the day.
Okay, thanks, Danny. We'll cross now to Debbie Spillane with Jason Croker.
Jason, congratulations on a huge win. I noticed you had to go over and thank the crowd before you can do an interview. Is that important to you, the record at home, obviously?
Yeah, well, the supporters are very good to us, so we've got to thank them in some sort of way.
Yeah. You only scored 1 try today. Brett Mullins has scooped you on the try scoring, and you're the leading try scorer in the competition. Does it get a bit competitive out there? Everyone seems to want to score.
Nah, not really. It doesn't get competitive at all. We score the tries, we score the tries. Just the way it goes, I guess.
And how difficult is it for you, because you seem to be the odd jobs man in the Canberra team? Whoever's out, you're replacing them. You're at 5'8" at the moment. Is that your favourite position?
I don't mind 5'8". I prefer a lock better. It doesn't sort of worry me where I play, but just as long as I'm in the side anywhere.
Yeah, and I noticed that there's just the enthusiasm, even there at the end of the game, when it was all well and truly all over, that last-ditch effort to score a try. What is it about Canberra that just makes them so desperate for the try scoring?
Oh, everybody likes to just score as many points as you can and sort of keep the defensive record pretty good as well. It all helps.
Okay, what about the little bit of nastiness creeping in at the end there? Did it spoil the game for you guys, or what was the reason in it?
I don't think there's anything in it. It was just one of those things. I suppose they were getting a bit hot-headed, I suppose, because of the beating, I guess.
You're getting a bit frustrated,
yeah.
I think. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for talking to us. Congratulations.
Thanks very much, Debbie. Thank you.
Yeah, great effort by Jason Croker, and Canberra now undefeated in 19 performances here at Bruce Stadium. And look at these try scorers. There were 10 tries in all, 3 to Brett Mullins, 2 each to Clyde and Wiki, 1 to Walters, Fullervai and Croker. Ferner kicked 8 from 11 for Cronulla. Consolation tries. They came quickly. Neve and Green got them, Crossan 2 from 2. And we can take a look at Brett Mullins in action. What a spectacular sight he was today. And Canberra now still in with a chance of making that all-important top 3. There it was, Croker finishing it off. That top 3 is the aim for Canberra right at this moment. Cronulla, for them, it doesn't get any easier. Next week they've got Canterbury.
Yeah, well, Cronulla, the bubble. A lot of people have been waiting for the bubble to burst, and perhaps it may have burst today. Maybe their semi-final series have gone out the window.
Well, they've got to hang in there and regroup for next week. And we're going to see them in action. It's Cronulla versus Canterbury, but Cronulla at home next week. We'll see you then.
And thanks to our commentary teams around the country. Our live football coverage back same time next week. Shortly, a wrap of the day in sport with Bridget Tilley. But first, it's good afternoon to Angela Pearman with news headlines.
Thanks, Rebecca. Good afternoon. A possible breakthrough in the stalled Middle East peace process. Jordan's King Hussein and Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin have agreed to meet in Washington later this month. The July 25th summit was announced this morning by US President Bill Clinton. European leaders have finally agreed on a new president. At an emergency meeting in Brussels, Luxembourg's Prime Minister Jacques Santé was unanimously endorsed as the successor to Jacques Delors. His appointment must be confirmed by the European Parliament, which meets next Tuesday. And rebel forces in Rwanda are poised to declare a ceasefire, with many believing a new government of national unity could be in place by Monday. The 3-month civil war has left most of the country in the hands of rebels from the Rwandan Patriotic Front. But talk of a truce has done little to curb the tide of refugees pouring into neighbouring Zaire. Those stories and more in ABC News at 7 o'clock. Time now for Sports News.
In sports news today, a thrilling overtime win to defending NBL champions Melbourne. And champion heptathlete Glynis Nunn-Kearns goes for a record 5th Commonwealth Games. Hello, I'm Bridget Tilley. 5 times British Open golf winner Tom Watson has taken the lead at the halfway mark of the tournament in Scotland. Watson leads the field at 7 under, with defending champion Greg Norman the pick of the Australians at 2 under. 7 Aussies remain in the field, including Terry Price, who hit 65 overnight. 8 others have missed the cut.
It was 17 years ago at this very course American Tom Watson won the Open. The 44-year-old deciding to take a trip down memory lane. A Super 5 under round 65 has Watson in a great position to equal Harry Varden's record of 6 Open titles.
It was a fun day to play. Whatever I tried today seemed to work, and that's what you need to do to win.
Fellow American Brad Faxon is reproducing the form that won in the Australian Open and is just 1 shot behind Watson.
A beautiful shot there from Brad Faxon.
Zimbabwe's Nick Price is playing with renewed vigour and capped a great round of 66 to be 2 shots off the pace. Overnight front runner New Zealand's Greg Turner dropped a shot today, but still well in the hunt at 4 under. While American John Daly had a nightmare second round, it started well as he moved to 5 under, but double bogeys at 10 and 11 destroyed his day as he finished even with the card. Rookie Open contender England's Jonathan Lomas came as close as you can to an ace at 11. He's also 4 under the card.
Look at this one. Look at this one.
Best of the Australians is 2 times Open champ Greg Norman. Defending his title, the Shark picked up 3 shots today to be 2 under. While fellow Aussie Peter Senior picked up a couple of late birdies, left his tee shot on 15, one of the best shots of the day, as he finished at -1, 6 behind leader Watson.
Could it be? And yet another shot finishes absolutely stone dead. Now, whether the flags have been put in...
Still overseas to the Tour de France now, and the unstoppable Miguel Indurain is out in front with an 8-minute buffer over his nearest rival in the Tour. He leads the race after the completion of yesterday's 12th stage. Frenchman Richard Virenque took his first ever stage victory, but Indurain retains the leader's yellow jersey. Phil Anderson is the highest place of the Australians. To basketball now, and 4 matches in the NBL overnight with some tight results. The Perth Wildcats beat Geelong, Canberra just home over the Devils, Adelaide 22-point winners over North Melbourne, and a great overtime match between Brisbane and the Melbourne Tigers. Andrew Gaze just 3 short of a half-century.
Going into the match, Brisbane had the home court and home crowd advantage and raced to an early lead.
Copeland with his first shot of the night.
Dominating from the tip-off, Shane Heal and Leroy Loggins took control, throwing baskets at will.
Loggins scores again, Leroy Loggins.
The home side led at every break, at one stage racing 24 points clear, before the Tigers turned everything around. Inspired by captain Andrew Gaze, the Tigers staged one of the biggest comebacks in NBL history, Brisbane blowing a massive 23-point lead at three-quarter time.
We have a 1-point ball game.
Gaze shooting a match-high 47 points.
This will tie it up. Woo! Ties it up.
A spectacular Melbourne victory in overtime.
What a comeback.
In the Women's National League, Adelaide continue their dominance with a win over the Tassie Islanders. Perth beat Canberra by 10 and the AIS beat the Bulleen Boomers. And you can see highlights from the match between Melbourne and Dandenong at 5 p.m. today. The world champion Australian netball team lines up in Brisbane tonight. They'll play Trinidad and Tobago in the second test match. It's really a question of by how much for the Aussies. They devastated the tourists by 67 goals in the first match. There's no way the Australians could have expected the easy win over Trinidad and Tobago last Wednesday, even without stalwart shooter Vicky Wilson. She played just 1 quarter in the amazing win. Wilson is a true veteran of the national side. The Queenslander, who's nicknamed Old Vic, has been a member for the past 10 years, a key player in the now infamous 1991 World Championship win. Netball fans and officials alike acknowledge she's one of the best ever.
She's just a great athlete who knows she can always find a little bit more.
Vicky's a fantastic player. Not only is she a great competitor, but she's a true sports person, and it's great.
The Aussies are now playing for spots in next year's World Championship side, and tonight in Brisbane, complacency is surely their only opponent. Well, 10 years ago, Australia's Glynis Nunn Kearns hit the headlines when she won a gold medal at the heptathlon at the Los Angeles Olympics. Yesterday in Brisbane, the veteran made the first of 3 last-ditch attempts to qualify for the 1994 Commonwealth Games.
Nunn Kearns first represented Australia at the Commonwealth Games when she was 17. Now, at 33, she was hoping to become the first Australian athlete to compete in 5 consecutive games. To qualify, Nunn Kearns had to run the 400-metre hurdles in 56.8 seconds. After a false start, Nunn Kearns found the conditions difficult, especially as she had to run the race alone. She finished in a time of 57.8, a personal best this year, but still not good enough to make the trip to Canada. Nunn Kearns says she's feeling the pressure from the media and the public.
At least I'm having a go, and at least I will know one way or the other if I can do it or I can't.
Nunn Kearns' hopes for a 5th Games appearance aren't over. She still has 2 more meets in Sydney over the next fortnight to qualify.
And Kathy Freeman's Games hopes have been boosted overnight. She's placed first in the 400 metres at the Crystal Palace Grand Prix meet in England. In the same meet, Linford Christie has been beaten in the 100 metres by American John Drummond. Well, millions of eyes around the world will be glued to television screens early Monday morning for the World Cup soccer final. Supporters of the flamboyant Brazilians are looking for a carbon copy of the 1970 Cup final in Mexico, when the South Americans demolished Italy 4-1. Brazil hasn't won the World Cup since that final 24 years ago, during the reign of the great Pelé. But they like their chances against Italy in Monday morning's finale. Not only are the South Americans ready to step up a notch, but Italy's star Roberto Baggio is under an injury cloud with a strained hamstring. The Brazilians aren't concerned with Baggio. Not surprisingly, they say they'd just like to see a wide-open game.
A team who come to play against Brazil without changing his way was Holland. and there was 5 goals and beautiful game. The other teams, if they play 20 meters on the back, it's so difficult for us. You cannot play quick, there's no space, and also anytime you can have a counter-attack. So it's not Brazilian mistakes. The opponent's mistake, which I believe they are respecting too much Brazilian football.
A superb opening 40 minutes has seen Canterbury and Manly's 8-match winning streak in their rugby league clash at Belmore Sports Ground last night. The Bulldogs ran in 4 tries to 2, taking the game 26-10 after racing to a 22-4 half-time lead.
Built as a grand final preview with the competition lead up for grabs, this clash was always set to be a fierce one.
Now it's on again. Well, again it was Ian Roberts coming in high.
Canterbury turning on the power with some ferocious defence.
Oh, big shoulder!
12 minutes in, Canterbury's Jim Dimmock put a kick through. Winger Daryl Halligan did the rest.
Richards going back quickly. Halligan's beat into it. Halligan gets the punch in. Puts it down.
The Smith family of Darren and Jason then sent Terry Hill crashing to earth. The loose ball swept upon as Jason Williams picked up the first of a double.
Williams inside the 20. Runs around them and puts it down.
Then a simple missed tackle from a chase by Eagles centre Danny Moore saw Halligan through. The super effort finished by Jim Dimmock for a 16-0 lead after 19 minutes.
Gets it away! Beautiful pass! Dimmock gets it down!
A Cliff Lyons special saw Manly's ever-present Stephen Menzies in 6 from half-time. But the glory was short-lived for the Eagles. A vital scrum win against the feed, eventually leading to Williams' second, as the Doggies led 22-4 at the break.
And this is becoming embarrassing for Manly.
Manly ran in the only try of the second 40 minutes through captain Jeff Tuvey.
It's a lovely pass and Tuvey goes in to score Manly's second try.
But it was the Dogs' night as they stormed home 26-10 and retained the outright competition lead.
And today's match featured 4th-placed Canberra at home to the Cronulla Sharks. Time now to cross to Warren Boland, who's at Bruce Stadium. Warren, always tough to meet the Raiders at home. Looks like they've done it yet again.
Yes, Bridget, Canberra have smashed Cronulla 56 points to 12 after leading 30 points to 0 at half-time. The Raiders scored 10 tries to 2. 3 of them went to Brett Mullins and 2 to Clyde, 2 to Wiki, 1 each to Walters, Fullivy and Croker. Ferner 8 from 11 with the boot and 2 tries in the second half to Cronulla. Neven Green got them, Crossan kicking 2 from 2. This try by Brett Mullins made it 42-0. For his side, so he's doing his work. Somebody else is missing a lot.
Oh, here he goes again.
Now he might go all the way this time. Watson comes to him and back inside. Guess who? Guess who it is?
It's touch football.
It's Brett Mullins. Canberra's attack was superb. Cronulla's defence fragile far too often, and Cronulla now will probably drop out of the 5 problems for them.
Yes, a great win to Canberra. Thanks, Warren. To AFL now, and Collingwood and Carlton met this afternoon at the MCG. Over 80,000 spectators gathering to watch the clash of the great traditional rivals.
The traditional rivals headliner wasn't lost on the players, the match getting off to a fiery start. Things didn't settle down though, Collingwood putting first points on the board.
It's going to be close. It's very close. It's there.
The Brown-Kernahan combination proving lethal. The accurate boot of the Blues' big man an omen for the Magpies. Hannah not wanting to miss out on the action as the Blues took a confident 42-point lead into the half-time break. The Blues had little time to rest in the third as Collingwood shifted into gear, but the Magpies couldn't follow through on opportunities. Madden looking to take Carlton to their 8th win on the trot.
Oh, what a beauty!
Yes, Carlton skipping away with it 14-13 to Collingwood 7-12. Melbourne has defeated Hawthorn 17-10 to 11-8. North Melbourne 17-14, 116 over St Kilda 8-7-55, a whitewash that one. And Footscray 17-11, 113 over Geelong 13-7-85. Well, Australia's Daryl Beattie has been involved in an accident during practice for the French 500cc motorcycle Grand Prix. Beattie lost 3 toes after he crashed on a chicane. He's in a satisfactory condition in hospital. Meantime, Mick Doohan continues his sensational form. He's grabbed pole position for the event ahead of American Kevin Schwantz. Time now to check snow conditions. Our reporter in Thredbo is Ben Mildren. And Ben, how are things looking down there?
Well, Bridget, it's turned out to be a beautiful day here in the mountains today. It was very windy early on this morning, but the wind decreased, leaving some beautiful wind-blown snow up on the higher slopes. Here in Thredbo, we've got 11 lifts operating today. Best skiing up high on those wind-blown areas, Antons and Sponners. In Perisher, they're skiing on a good hard-pack cover. Sun Valley, Front Valley the pick over there, 30 lifts operating. Blue Cow Mountain, a medium cover of hard-packed snow being topped up by the wind-blown snow. Best skiing, Side Saddle, Pleasant Valley, 13 lifts up and running. Mount Selwyn, skiing for beginners and intermediates on a medium to thin cover. They've got 3 lifts going. Charlotte Pass, they've got good skiing on a machine-packed base, 3 lifts operating. In the Victorian resorts, Mount Buller, snowmaking last night. Skiing's good on the fair groomed runs, 11 lifts going. Falls Creek, skiing on good snow-made areas, especially down in Village Bowl, 20 lifts operating. Mount Hotham, good skiing on the upper slopes, 7 lifts going. The forecast is for a cold night on Sunday night and the possibility of snow on Tuesday and Thursday, shaping up for a great week next week. This is Ben Mildren in Thredbo for ABC Sports News.
Thanks, Ben. Looks like a great time to get down there. Well, that's it for Sports News. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Bridget. Now a look at what's coming up on ABC Sport this week. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, Bulls Up, followed at 10 with highlights of today's rugby league match between Canberra and Cronulla. At 11 o'clock tomorrow night, exclusive netball action as Australia take on Trinidad Tobago in the second test. American college football with Don Lane continues Tuesday night at 11:05. This week, Boston College at Notre Dame. And on Wednesday night at the same time, our cup...
Back to tonight. Young Hughes. And towed ahead now for Williams to watch it just get over the sideline in front of him. So down on the 20-metre line. A scrum.
Ben Gillies was claiming that it touched one of the Manly players. He's looking for a Canterbury feed.
The crowd count out the time. The scrum is not required. And a comprehensive victory. One of the best of the year for Canterbury. Probably one of the best wins by any club all year. This Manly team, let's not forget, had scored 95 points to nil in 160 minutes of football in the last fortnight. So they were entitled to start favourites. They were supposed to give 5.5 start in footy tap. And Canterbury, with no McCracken, no Terry Lamb, no Scott Wilson, have won 26 points to 10. So that is comprehensive. Chris Anderson will be absolutely delighted with what his club has done tonight. A show of depth, a show of class. Manly will be fully aware that if they're to win this grand final in 1994, they have just played one of their major hurdles. Man of the match, that fellow there, Daryl Halligan. Why not? Superb effort. $1,000 from Ansett Australia. Well, the Dally M points saw Darryl get 8 points, Darren Smith 7, and Dean Pay got 6. And Footy Tab on the game picked the score 26-10 to Canterbury, $444.55. And so on behalf of the entire team, Fatty, Walker, Sterlo, and the 9 Rugby League crew, I'm Ray Warren. Good night, Australia.
This has been another presentation from Nine's Wide World of Sports.
Friday Night Football is proudly presented for your entertainment by Mitsubishi and Woodhaven Green Golf Course Estate. Monday night at the movies. Get set for heart-pounding excitement.
Got $1,000 on you, Culhane. Should have bet more.
A hard-kicking fight flick.
You will go down.
That'll knock your socks off.
I sold my soul for $100 grand.
An all-action premiere.
You're gonna kill this guy.
That's positively primeval. An absolute cliffhanger.
Promise that this is going to be your last fight.
This is the one you've been waiting for.
You heard her? I'll kill you.
To be the best. 8:30 Monday on Win. Yarn event, Jeff McMullen, Richard Carlton, Tracy Curo and Charles Woolley. The award-winning team bringing you the best. 60 minutes, Sunday 7:30 on Win.
Still to run in 94. Win Television.
Former West Australian Premier Brian Burke heads to jail. Demands for an inquiry spark concerns for the Sydney Olympics. And America's new love affair with soccer. Will the passion last?
From National 9 News, this is Nightline with Jim Whaley.
Good evening. Brian Burke fell about as low as he could go today. The former West Australian Premier, Ambassador to Ireland and potential PM, is tonight behind bars in Perth's maximum security prison. Burke was sentenced to 2 years jail for fiddling his travel allowance. Raymond Dale reports.
Brian Burke completed his extraordinary transition from Premier to prisoner today, driving himself to court and maintaining a stony silence as he walked to the dock.
Morning, Mr. Burke. How are you feeling?
His defence counsel asked the judge to consider Burke's diligent work for the state. A written testimony from Bob Hawke described him as an honourable man. Burke was seen by many as a political star, rising to glory in the 80s and stamping his government with a brash corporate style. A father of 6 and golden boy of the ALP, he was touted as a future Prime Minister.
I'm Labor. I was born Labor and I'll die Labor.
But before resigning in the gathering storm of WA Inc., Burke siphoned off $17,000 from the public purse into his private bank account. Today, Judge Kevin Hammond said, as Premier, Burke held the highest office in the state. That you were prepared to abuse that authority is a grave breach of trust. You showed no remorse for your actions and tried to shift responsibility onto others. He jailed Burke for 2 years, but with remissions he could be out in 7 months. His family left the court shortly after the sentence was announced.
If you could let them move down the street in dignity, it would be very much appreciated.
Brian Burke exited in the back of a prison van with 19 others for a 40-minute trip to Canning Vale.
All prisoners in the Ministry of Justice are treated the same.
Jail authorities will assess the former Premier over the weekend. He may end up in a minimum security prison, possibly the same one as former associate Laurie Connell. The government now plans to strip Mr Burke of his remaining political benefits, like free travel and phone bill allowances. Burke still faces charges of stealing more than $100,000 from the ALP. Raymond Dale for Nightline.
Victorian Premier Jeff Kennett has ruled out an inquiry into the claims of Olympic sabotage. Instead, in a move that threatens Sydney's hosting of the year 2000 Games, he's upped the ante, calling for a Senate investigation into the financial dealings of the Australian Olympic Committee.
Mr Kennett's been under pressure for 2 weeks to call a state inquiry into the claims. The charge that Sydney-based International Olympics Committee delegate Phil Coles leaked information on Melbourne's 1996 strategy during 44 phone calls to officials of the rival Atlanta bid. Mr Kennett spent the past week questioning Melbourne business people and others involved in the bid, telling them to back up their allegation.
None of those making any of the accusations have given me a piece of paper or a film or a bit of information that would allow me to have a prima facie case to establish an inquiry.
A decision welcomed by Mr Coles.
Obviously, I've been wounded and it's taken a toll on my family and particularly my 83-year-old mum. But this is not a time for recriminations. It must be a time of reconciliation.
But there won't be any lasting peace if Mr Kennett pushes on with his other idea, a Senate inquiry into the Australian Olympic Committee's financial dealings, specifically a $6 million investment in a Queensland casino. The AOC believes such a probe would threaten Sydney's Games in 2000.
The slur on our integrity now puts at risk and questions the decision of the IOC to entrust the 2000 Games to the Australian Olympic Committee, and that's a great pity.
Mr Kennett's call for a Senate inquiry looks like a classic piece of buck passing. So far, the only ones to come anywhere near supporting it are the Democrats, and even they won't commit themselves. Democrats leader Cheryl Curnow says putting the AOC under closer scrutiny might be a good idea, but any inquiry would have to be closely defined. Simon Clark reporting for Nightline.
3 Brisbane businessmen have been sent to jail after pleading guilty to corruption. Bruce Blundell, John Lee and Parnell Jones all admitted paying kickbacks to former public servant Wayne Box in return for government contracts. Box was the education officer for the Marine Department. He appointed private firms to produce safety videos for a price. In all, Box, who's serving a 5-year sentence, netted